The 6-year-old's tiny fingers touched the dying man's face, and he opened his eyes for the first time in 3 days. Blood soaked through his leather vest. Knife wounds covered his chest. A $500,000 bounty hung over his head. And the only person in Memphis who cared whether he lived or died was a child who couldn't even tie her own shoes yet. "Don't worry, mister," Lily whispered, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her cheeks. "I found you. I'm not going to let you go." She had no idea that the man she just saved would soon risk everything to save her. Before we continue, please subscribe to my channel and follow this story until the very end. Comment below which city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. The butterfly changed everything. Lily Grace Parker had been chasing it for 3 blocks now, her pink sneakers slapping against the cracked Memphis pavement. She was 6 years old, small for her age, with tangled brown hair that hadn't seen a brush in 2 days, and a purple dress that was getting too short for her growing legs. "Come back," she called out, reaching for the orange monarch that danced just above her fingertips. "Please come back." The butterfly didn't listen. It never did. But Lily kept following anyway because following butterflies was better than sitting in that apartment listening to Mama and Daddy fight about money again. They always fought about money now. She rounded the corner of the apartment building and stopped. The butterfly floated higher, disappearing over a row of green dumpsters pressed against a graffiti-covered brick wall. The alley smelled bad like old food, and something else Lily couldn't name. But she wasn't scared. Lily Grace Parker had never been scared of much. She spotted some wooden pallets stacked near the wall. They looked sturdy enough. She'd climbed higher things than this at the playground. "I'm coming to get you, butterfly," she whispered, dragging the lightest pallet toward the nearest dumpster. The wood scraped loud against the concrete. Lily winced, but kept pulling. When she finally got it positioned right, she climbed up carefully, her small fingers gripping the rusty metal edge. She pulled herself up just high enough to peek over the top. The butterfly was gone. But something else was there instead. Lily's breath caught in her throat. A man. A huge man, bigger than Daddy, bigger than anyone she'd ever seen. He was curled up among the garbage bags and broken boxes, his face hidden behind a thick, dark beard. Tattoos covered every inch of his arms, snaking up toward his neck like vines made of ink. His leather vest was torn and dirty, and on his side, spreading through his white t-shirt, was a dark red stain that made Lily's stomach flip. Blood. So much blood. "Mister," her voice came out tiny, barely a whisper. "Mister, are you sleeping?" He didn't move. Didn't even twitch. Lily's heart started pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She'd seen blood before, scraped knees, bloody noses from the boys fighting at school. But this was different. This was wrong. "Mister, please wake up." Nothing. Tears started burning in her eyes. The man looked scary with all those tattoos and that big beard. His vest had patches on it, symbols she didn't understand. But lying there in all that garbage covered in blood, not moving, he didn't look scary anymore. He looked alone. And Lily knew what alone felt like. She felt it every day sitting by herself in that apartment while Mama worked, and Daddy stared at bills he couldn't pay. "Nobody should be alone when they're hurt," she whispered, remembering what Miss Johnson always said at school. "That's the rule. That's always the rule." She took a deep breath and screamed. "Help! Somebody help! There's a hurt man here! Please help!" Her voice echoed off the brick walls, bouncing around the empty alley. Nobody came. Nobody ever came to this part of the neighborhood. "Please, he's hurt really bad." Still nothing. Lily wiped her nose with the back of her hand and made a decision. She wasn't going to leave him. She didn't care how long it took. She was going to stay right here until someone came. "It's okay, mister," she said, even though she knew he couldn't hear her. "I'm gonna stay with you. I promise." Dorothy Mae Williams was 68 years old, and she'd seen enough trouble in her life to last 3 more lifetimes. She'd raised 4 children on a church secretary's salary after her husband died in Vietnam. She'd buried 2 of those children lost to the streets of Memphis before they turned 25. She'd survived breast cancer, a house fire, and a grandson who broke her heart so many times she'd lost count. But she'd never stopped believing. Never stopped showing up to Mount Zion Baptist Church every morning at 6 to clean the floors and polish the pews and arrange the flowers just so. The Lord had brought her this far. She wasn't about to start doubting him now. She was walking home from church, her worn leather purse clutched against her chest when she heard the screaming. A child's voice, high and desperate. Dorothy's feet moved before her brain caught up. She was 68 years old, with bad knees and worse hips, but something about that sound, the pure terror in it, made her move faster than she had in years. She rounded the corner and stopped dead. A little girl couldn't be more than 5 or 6 was standing on a wooden pallet, leaning over the edge of a dumpster, crying her eyes out. "Child, what on earth? Please help!" The girl spun around, her face streaked with tears and snot and dirt. "There's a man in there and he's hurt, and he won't wake up and I don't know what to do." Dorothy's heart clenched. Every instinct told her to grab this baby and run. Call the police. Let someone else handle whatever mess was in that dumpster. But then the little girl looked at her with those big brown eyes so full of fear and hope, and something else, something that looked almost like faith. "Please, Miss Dorothy," the child said. "He needs help." Dorothy blinked. "How do you know my name, child? I seen you before. You clean the big church with the pretty windows. You're nice, I can tell." Something cracked open in Dorothy's chest. This little girl, this stranger's child, had noticed her, had remembered her, had decided she was nice. "Lord, give me strength." Dorothy set her purse down and approached the dumpster. Her sensible shoes crunched on broken glass and gravel. The smell hit her first rot and blood, and something sharp, like copper. She looked over the edge, and her stomach dropped. The man was massive, easily 6'3", with muscles visible even under the blood-soaked t-shirt. His leather vest bore patches she recognized immediately. Iron Wolves MC. She'd seen their kind rolling through Memphis, loud and dangerous and frightening. But the man wasn't frightening now. He was dying. "Sweet Jesus," Dorothy whispered. "Is he gonna be okay?" The little girl had climbed back up beside her, her small hand finding Dorothy's wrinkled one. "He has to be okay. I found him. That means I gotta help him." Dorothy looked at the child, then back at the bleeding man in the dumpster. Every sensible thought told her to walk away. This wasn't her business. This wasn't her problem. Men like this had enemies for a reason. But the Bible said, "Love thy neighbor." It didn't say anything about loving only the neighbors who looked safe. "What's your name, baby?" Dorothy asked softly. "Lily. Lily Grace Parker." "Well, Lily Grace Parker, I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that?" Lily nodded solemnly, squeezing Dorothy's hand tighter. "Then let's see about saving this man's life." Marcus Brennan had been ready to die. For 3 days, he'd drifted in and out of consciousness, feeling his life leak out through the holes Snake's men had carved into him. Fitting end, he'd thought, during his lucid moments. Die in the trash like the traitor they said he was. He'd stopped fighting. Stopped hoping. Just waited for the darkness to finally take him all the way under. Then something touched his face. Soft. Small. Warm. Don't worry, mister. I found you. I'm not going to let you go. A child's voice, sweet and clear and stubborn as hell. Marcus tried to open his eyes, but they wouldn't cooperate. Everything hurt. His side, his chest, his head, his soul. But that voice cut through all of it like a knife through butter. You hear that Mr. Help is coming? Miss Dorothy's gonna help us. Miss Dorothy. Who the hell was Miss Dorothy? He felt movement around him, hands on his shoulders, on his legs, older hands, careful and strong. Lord have mercy, he weighs a ton. Lily, baby. I need you to guide his feet while I try to shift him. Okay, Miss Dorothy. I got him. Marcus felt himself being dragged, pulled, maneuvered. Pain exploded through his side, and he groaned the first sound he'd made in days. He's waking up, the child's voice again, high with excitement. Mister, can you hear me? Marcus forced his eyes open. The world swam into focus slowly. Blue sky, brick walls, and hovering above him, two faces. One belonged to an elderly black woman with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun and worry lines carved deep around her eyes. The other belonged to a little girl with tangled brown hair and the most determined expression he'd ever seen. There you are, the little girl said, smiling through her tears. I told you I'd find help. Marcus tried to speak, but only a croak came out. Don't try to talk yet, the old woman said firmly. You've lost a lot of blood. We need to get you somewhere safe. Safe. The word almost made Marcus laugh. There was nowhere safe for him anymore. Snake had made sure of that. Can't, he managed to rasp. They'll find me. Who'll find you? The little girl Lily leaned closer. Who hurt you, mister? Marcus looked at her. 6 years old, maybe. Dirty dress, uncombed hair, eyes that had already seen too much of the world's hardness. And yet here she was, trying to save a man she'd found in a dumpster. Bad men, he whispered. Very bad men. Lily's jaw set in a way that made her look decades older. Then we won't let them find you. Right, Miss Dorothy? The old woman hesitated. Marcus could see the war playing out behind her eyes. Common sense versus compassion. Self-preservation versus something deeper. Finally, she sighed. I have a little apartment behind the church. It's not much, but nobody would think to look there. You can't, Marcus said, his voice stronger now. If they find out you helped me, then we'll deal with that if it happens. Dorothy cut him off. Right now you're bleeding out on my sidewalk, and I've got a 6-year-old child who's apparently decided you're worth saving. So we're gonna save you whether you like it or not. She looked at Lily. Go check around the corner. Make sure nobody's watching. Lily nodded and ran off before Marcus could protest. When she was gone, Dorothy's expression hardened. I know who you are. Or at least I know what that vest means. Iron wolves have been nothing but trouble for this city. Drugs, violence, Lord knows what else. Marcus closed his eyes. Then why help me? Because that little girl looked at you, a grown man covered in gang tattoos and blood, and she saw someone worth saving. Children see things adults don't. Maybe she sees something in you worth believing in. Dorothy paused. Or maybe she's just a kid who doesn't know any better. Either way, I'm not about to let her watch a man die in a dumpster. Before Marcus could respond, Lily came running back. Coast is clear, Miss Dorothy. Dorothy nodded and began helping Marcus to his feet. The pain was excruciating fire, spreading through his entire left side, but he gritted his teeth and forced himself to move. My car's parked behind the church, Dorothy said. It's about 3 blocks. Can you make it? Have to, Marcus grunted. They moved slowly. Dorothy on one side, the dumpster wall on the other. Lily walked ahead, constantly checking for anyone who might see them. Halfway there, Marcus stumbled. His vision blurred and his legs went soft. Hold on, Dorothy urged. We're almost there. Can't, Marcus gasped. Just leave me. Take the girl and go. Nope. Lily appeared at his other side, her tiny shoulder pressing against his hip, trying to support weight she couldn't possibly bear. I didn't find you in that yucky trash so you could give up now. Keep walking, mister. Marcus looked down at her. This scrap of a child barely bigger than a minute glaring up at him like she could will him back to health through sheer stubbornness. Something shifted in his chest. Something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Okay, he whispered. Okay, kid. I'll keep walking. The apartment behind Mount Zion Baptist Church was small, but clean. One room with a bed, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom not much bigger than a closet. Dorothy had lived here for 15 years, ever since she'd given her house to her youngest daughter and her growing family. She hadn't minded the downsize. Less space meant less to clean, and she'd always believed that possessions just weighed a person down. Now she watched as Lily helped settle the bleeding stranger onto her narrow bed. The girl moved with surprising efficiency, grabbing towels without being asked, filling a bowl with water, even finding the first aid kit Dorothy kept under the sink. You've done this before, Dorothy observed. Lily shrugged. Mama's a nurse. Sometimes she brings stuff home to practice. Your mama know where you are right now. The girl's face clouded. She's at work, double shift, and Daddy's... She trailed off, chewing her lip. Daddy's what? He doesn't really notice when I'm gone anymore. Dorothy's heart broke a little. She'd seen this story too many times in this neighborhood. Parents so caught up in their own troubles, they forgot they had children who needed them. She turned her attention to the man on her bed. He'd passed out again during the last stretch of walking, which was probably a mercy, given what she was about to do. Lily, I need you to help me with something, but it's going to be hard to look at. You think you can handle it? Lily straightened her spine. I can handle it. Good girl. I need to see how bad his wounds are. That means cutting off his shirt and cleaning him up. There's going to be a lot of blood. I'm not scared of blood, Lily said, though her voice wobbled slightly. Dorothy smiled softly. I know you're not baby. That's what makes you so brave. Together they peeled away the blood-soaked t-shirt. What they found underneath made Dorothy's breath catch. 3 deep knife wounds across his left side. Dozens of smaller cuts on his chest and arms. Bruises everywhere, purple and black and yellow, layered on top of each other like he'd been beaten repeatedly over several days. But that wasn't what caught Dorothy's attention. It was the scars. Old ones, long-heeled, crisscrossing his chest and stomach. And there on his right shoulder, a tattoo she recognized. United States Army. Ranger Regiment. Miss Dorothy, Lily's voice was small. Why does he have a soldier mark? Dorothy stared at the tattoo, then at the unconscious man's face. So much pain written there even in sleep. Pain that went far deeper than the knife wounds. Because he was a soldier baby. A long time ago. But then why is he with the bad motorcycle men? I don't know. Dorothy reached for the peroxide and clean cloths. But I intend to find out. Marcus woke to the smell of rubbing alcohol and something else. Something he couldn't quite place at first. Lavender. Like the soap his grandmother used to use. He opened his eyes slowly. The room was dim, lit only by a small lamp in the corner. He was lying on a narrow bed that was surprisingly comfortable, covered by a clean white sheet. His side throbbed with every heartbeat, but it was a different kind of pain now. Cleaner, somehow. Someone had bandaged his wounds. You're awake, He turned his head. The little girl from the dumpster. Lily sat in a folding chair beside the bed, a half-eaten sandwich in her hands. How long was I out? Most of the day. Miss Dorothy said you needed to rest. Lily took another bite of her sandwich. She fixed you up pretty good. Said the cuts weren't as bad as they looked, just needed cleaning and closing. Marcus tried to sit up, and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through his side. Don't move too much, Lily scolded, sounding exactly like a disapproving nurse. You'll open your stitches. Stitches? Miss Dorothy's mama was a midwife back in the old days. Taught her all kinds of stuff. She sewed you up herself. Marcus lay back, staring at the ceiling. He was alive. Against all odds, against everything that should have happened, he was alive. Because of a 6-year-old girl who found him in a dumpster. Why? He asked softly. Lily cocked her head. Why what? Why did you help me? You saw my vest, my tattoos. Most people run from men who look like me. Lily thought about this for a moment, chewing slowly. You looked hurt, and my teacher says we're supposed to help people who are hurt. She didn't say anything about not helping people with tattoos. Marcus felt something crack inside him. A wall he'd built years ago, brick by brick, after Sarah and Emma died. After the light went out of his world, and he'd stopped caring whether he lived or died. This child, this impossibly brave, impossibly stubborn child, had just kicked a hole in that wall without even trying. What's your name, mister? Lily asked. Marcus. That's a nice name. I'm Lily, but you already knew that. I did. He paused. Thank you, Lily, for not leaving me there. You're welcome. She finished her sandwich and wiped her hands on her dress. Miss Dorothy went to get more supplies. She said I could stay with you till she gets back. Make sure you don't die. Appreciate that. Plus, I want to know something. Marcus raised an eyebrow. What's that? Lily leaned forward, her expression serious. Those bad men who hurt you. Who are they? Marcus's blood went cold. Why do you want to know? Because if they're still out there, we need to know who to watch for. That's what Mama always says. Know who your enemies are so they can't sneak up on you. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good. The less you know about that, the safer you are. Lily crossed her arms. That's what grown-ups always say when they don't want to tell you something. That's because sometimes grown-ups are trying to protect you. Miss Dorothy says secrets are poison. They eat you up from the inside if you keep them too long. Marcus closed his eyes. This child was going to kill him. Not the knife wounds, not the blood loss, but this relentless, innocent interrogation. Fine, he said finally. But you have to promise not to tell anyone else, not even Miss Dorothy. Lily considered this. Only if it's not a bad secret. Miss Dorothy also says some secrets are too heavy for kids to carry. It's not a bad secret. Not exactly. It's a... He searched for the right word. It's a complicated secret. Okay. I promise. Marcus took a breath. He shouldn't be telling her any of this. But something about those big brown eyes made him want to be honest for the first time in years. Those men who hurt me. They're part of a motorcycle club called the Iron Wolves. I used to ride with them. Lily nodded slowly. So they were your friends? I thought they were. Turns out I was wrong. What happened? Marcus hesitated. How do you explain betrayal and corruption and human trafficking to a 6-year-old? I found out they were doing bad things. Really bad things. Hurting people who couldn't protect themselves, and I couldn't be part of that anymore, so You told on them. Something like that. And they got mad, very mad, mad enough to try to kill me. Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing this. Then she reached out and patted his hand gently. You did the right thing, Marcus. Telling on bad guys is always the right thing, even when it's scary. Marcus stared at her. This child barely out of diapers understood something that had taken him years to accept. Some things were worth dying for. Some lines should never be crossed. "Yeah," he said softly. "Yeah, I guess it is." The door opened, and Dorothy came in carrying a paper bag full of supplies. She stopped when she saw Marcus awake, her expression unreadable. "Good. You're conscious." She set the bag down and began unpacking bandages, antiseptic, and what looked like antibiotics. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About the fact that I've got a wanted man bleeding in my bed, a child who should be home with her parents, but apparently nobody knows she's here, and no clue what happens next." Dorothy fixed him with a hard stare. "So here's how this is going to work. You're going to tell me everything. Who you are, what you did, why those men want you dead. And then we're going to figure out how to keep all of us alive." Marcus looked at Lily, then back at Dorothy. Two people who had no reason to help him, no obligation to risk themselves for a stranger with a target on his back. And yet here they were. "Okay," he said, "but you might want to sit down. It's a long story." His name was Marcus Dwayne Brennan, born in Nashville 42 years ago to a mechanic father and a teacher mother, raised right as his grandmother used to say, "Church every Sunday, respect your elders, stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves." He'd joined the Army at 18 straight out of high school, became a Ranger by 21, served 3 tours in Afghanistan, earned medals he never talked about, saw things that still woke him up screaming in the middle of the night. But he'd survived. Come home in one piece, more or less. Met a woman named Sarah at a VA hospital where she worked as a physical therapist. Fell in love hard and fast, the way only soldiers who've stared death in the face can fall in love. They got married 6 months later, had a baby girl named Emma, who had her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn streak. Life was good. Life was perfect. And then, in the space of a heartbeat, it was over. The accident happened on a rainy October night. A drunk driver ran a red light and slammed into the passenger side of Sarah's car. She died on impact. Emma, strapped into her car seat in the back, held on for 3 hours before her little heart gave out. Marcus wasn't there. He was across town working late, trying to earn extra money for the house they were saving up to buy. He never forgave himself for that. The months after were a blur. Drinking, fighting, getting kicked out of apartments when he couldn't make rent. He lost his job, his friends, his will to live. And then Snake found him. Victor "Snake" Kruger was the president of the Iron Wolves MC, a man with dead eyes and a smile that never reached them. He found Marcus in a bar outside Memphis, 3 sheets to the wind, and looking for someone to hurt. "You're that Ranger, aren't you?" Snake had said, sliding onto the stool beside him. "The one who lost his family. Heard you were good with your hands. Heard you don't give a damn about anything anymore." Marcus had looked at him through bleary eyes. "What's it to you? I need men who don't give a damn. Men who aren't afraid of getting dirty. Men who want a family again." Snake had smiled, cold and calculating. "The wolves can be your family brother, if you're willing to earn it." And God help him, Marcus had said yes. For 5 years he rode with the Iron Wolves, did things he wasn't proud of, hurt people who probably didn't deserve it, told himself it didn't matter because nothing mattered anymore. But something changed about 3 years ago. He started noticing things. Girls being moved through their territory, young girls with dead eyes and bruises they tried to hide, money changing hands that didn't match their supposed security consulting business, whispered conversations that stopped whenever he walked into a room. He started digging, carefully, quietly using the skills the Army had taught him, and what he found made him want to vomit. Human trafficking, Snake was running a human trafficking operation right under everyone's noses. Young women, some of them barely out of their teens, being bought and sold like cattle. Forced into things Marcus couldn't even bring himself to think about. He couldn't be part of that. No matter how broken he was, no matter how little he cared about his own life, he couldn't be part of that. So he'd done the only thing he could think of. He'd reached out to the FBI. For 3 years, he'd been working as an informant, gathering evidence, documenting shipments, identifying buyers, building a case that would bring Snake and his entire empire crashing down. But someone had talked. A leak somewhere, either in the bureau or in the club, he never found out which. All he knew was that one night, 6 days ago, Snake had called him into the clubhouse back room. "I know what you are, brother," Snake had said, and the word brother had never sounded so much like a curse. "And now you're going to pay for it." What followed was 3 days of hell. Beatings, cuttings, questions Marcus refused to answer, no matter how bad it got. Snake wanted to know what he'd told the feds, who his handler was, where the evidence was hidden. Marcus hadn't broken. He'd held on to one thought through all of it. Sarah and Emma were waiting for him on the other side, and he could finally tell them he'd done something good with the ruin of his life. On the third night, they'd thrown him in the dumpster behind some apartment building and left him to die. And then, an angel with tangled brown hair and a purple dress had found him. Dorothy sat in stunned silence when he finished. Lily had fallen asleep somewhere in the middle, curled up in the chair like a kitten, her breathing soft and even. "FBI informant," Dorothy finally said. "You're telling me you're a federal witness?" "Was. I don't know what I am now." Marcus stared at the ceiling. "My handler probably thinks I'm dead. The evidence I gathered is hidden somewhere. Snake will never find it, but without my testimony, it won't be enough to bring him down. And the bounty, $500,000 to whoever brings Snake my head. Literally." Marcus turned to look at her. "You see why I said you should have left me in that dumpster? Every second I'm here, I'm putting you both in danger." Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "I've lived 68 years in this world, Mr. Brennan. Raised 4 children, buried 2 of them. Survived things that should have killed me and kept getting up every morning anyway. You know why?" "Why?" "Because giving up is easy. Anybody can give up. But fighting even when you're tired, even when it seems hopeless, that's what makes us human." She nodded toward the sleeping child. "That little girl saw something worth saving when she looked at you. I'm inclined to trust her judgment." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "You don't even know me." "No, but I know what it looks like when a man's been given a second chance. Question is, what are you going to do with it?" Before Marcus could answer, Lily stirred in her chair. Her eyes fluttered open, confused for a moment, before remembering where she was. "Did I miss the end of the story?" she asked sleepily. "No, baby." Dorothy smiled softly. "I think we're just getting to the good part." It was dark outside when Lily finally went home. She'd argued, of course. Wanted to stay with Marcus, wanted to make sure he was okay. But Dorothy had been firm. "Your parents are going to worry, child. You need to go home." "They won't worry," Lily had said quietly. "They never notice when I'm gone." But she'd gone anyway after making Marcus promise 3 times that he wouldn't leave without saying goodbye. Now Marcus lay in the dark, listening to Dorothy move around the small kitchen, the soft clink of dishes being washed, the whisper of a hymn being hummed under her breath. He should leave. He knew that. Every hour he stayed put these women in more danger. Snake had eyes everywhere. It was only a matter of time before someone spotted him, before word got back to the club. But he couldn't make himself move. Something Lily had said kept echoing in his head. "You did the right thing, Marcus. Telling on bad guys is always the right thing." Such a simple truth. Such an obvious elementary school truth. And yet hearing it from her mouth had hit him harder than any of Snake's punches. He'd spent 3 years living a lie, pretending to be something he wasn't, all for the sake of bringing down a monster. He'd told himself the ends justified the means, that the people he hurt along the way were acceptable casualties. But lying there in Dorothy's small apartment, looking at the drawings Lily had left behind, stick figures of a happy family she dreamed of having, Marcus realized something. He didn't want to just bring Snake down anymore. He wanted to live. Really live, not just survive. He wanted to see what happened next. Wanted to be there when Lily grew up and became whatever extraordinary thing she was destined to become. He wanted to be worthy of the second chance a little girl and an old woman had given him. For the first time in 8 years, Marcus Brennan wanted a future. And that scared him more than anything Snake could ever do. The next morning, Lily came back. She burst through the door at 7 a.m., sharp pigtails, bouncing a backpack slung over her shoulder, and a look of fierce determination on her face. "I brought you breakfast," she announced, dumping the backpack on the bed. Out tumbled a bruised apple, 2 granola bars, and what looked like half a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in a napkin. Marcus stared at the offerings. "Where did you get all this?" "From home. Daddy was asleep on the couch and Mama already left for work, so I took stuff from the kitchen." She looked proud of herself. "I even remembered napkins." Dorothy appeared from the kitchen, her expression caught between amusement and concern. "Child, does anybody know you're here?" "Nope, I said I was going to school." Lily climbed onto the bed beside Marcus, careful not to jostle his injured side. "But school doesn't start for another hour. I wanted to check on him first." "You can't keep doing this," Marcus said gently. "If your parents find out, they won't." Lily's voice was flat. "Daddy doesn't even know what day it is anymore. And Mama's always at work." Marcus and Dorothy exchanged a look. There was more going on with this child's family than she was saying. "Lily," Dorothy said carefully, "is everything okay at home?" The little girl shrugged, picking at the apple she'd brought. "It's fine. We just don't have a lot of money anymore. Daddy lost his job and now people keep calling and asking for money we don't have. They make Daddy cry sometimes." Marcus's blood went cold. "What kind of people call, I don't know, mean ones? They say bad words." Lily took a bite of the apple. "One time a man came to the door and he and Daddy yelled at each other. Mama was really scared after." Dorothy sat down slowly in the folding chair. "Lily, do you know what these men wanted? Money. They always want money." She looked up at Marcus. "That's why I'm not supposed to answer the door anymore, in case it's the money men." The money men. Marcus's mind was racing. Loan sharks. Had to be. And in Memphis there was really only one operation that ran that kind of game. Snake's operation. "Lily," he said, keeping his voice calm even though his heart was pounding. "Do you remember what any of these men looked like, the ones who came to your door? One of them had a tattoo on his neck. A snake." Marcus closed his eyes. Of course. Of course, the little girl who'd saved his life was connected to the very monster he'd been trying to destroy. This can't be a coincidence. Dorothy paced the small kitchen, while Lily sat at the table working on homework she'd pulled from her backpack. The child seemed oblivious to the gravity of the adult's conversation, but Marcus suspected she understood more than she let on. "It's not," Marcus said grimly. "Snake's loan sharking operation is massive. They target people who can't go to banks, people who are desperate. They offer easy money at impossible terms, and then when the payments start piling up," he trailed off. "They own them," Dorothy finished. "Exactly. And if Lily's father is into them for money, that means Snake already has leverage over this family." What kind of leverage? Marcus didn't want to say it. Didn't want to put the words out into the universe where they might become real. But Dorothy deserved the truth. Snake doesn't just want money. He wants assets. People who owe him eventually have to work off their debt one way or another. If they have something valuable. He glanced at Lily, still bent over her math problems. Or someone valuable. Dorothy's face went gray. You can't mean... I don't know what he means, not yet, but I need to find out. Marcus pushed himself up, grimacing at the pain. I need to find out who Lily's father owes and how much. And I need to find out what Snake knows about this family. How you can barely walk. I'll figure it out. He reached for his vest, still stained with blood, but the only thing he had to wear. I still have people who owe me favors. People who might be willing to talk. You go out there, they'll kill you. Maybe. Marcus met her eyes. But if I stay here and do nothing, Snake will eventually come for Lily's family anyway. At least this way I have a chance to stop it. Dorothy looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a set of keys. Take my car. It's the blue sedan parked behind the church. And take this. She pressed a cell phone into his hands. It's a burner. My number's already programmed in. You get in trouble, you call me. Dorothy. Don't argue with me, Mr. Brennan. That little girl believes you can help her family. Don't you dare prove her wrong. Marcus looked down at the phone, then at the keys, then at Dorothy's fierce, determined face. This woman, this complete stranger, was willing to risk everything because a child had faith in a broken man. I'll come back, he said. I promise. You better, because if you don't, I'll hunt you down myself. Marcus almost smiled. It was the closest he'd come to smiling in years. He was halfway to the door when Lily's voice stopped him. Marcus. He turned. She was standing by the table, her homework forgotten, her eyes big and solemn. You're coming back, right? You promised. I promised, he confirmed. Okay. She nodded once, as if his word was enough. Be careful. The bad men are really mean. I know, kid, but I've dealt with mean before. He walked out into the morning light, every step sending pain shooting through his side. He had no weapon, no backup, no plan beyond asking questions and hoping he didn't get killed before he found answers. But for the first time in 8 years, he had something more valuable than any of those things. He had a reason to fight. The motorcycle shop on the south side of Memphis looked like every other run-down garage in the neighborhood, except for the Iron Wolves banner hanging in the window and the 3 Harleys parked out front. Marcus watched from across the street, his heart hammering against his ribs. This was insane. Coming here, showing his face where any of Snake's men could see him. If he got spotted, he was dead. No question. But he needed information, and there was only one person in the Wolves who might give it to him. Tommy Two-Tap Delgado had been his closest friend in the club before everything went wrong. They'd ridden together, fought together, gotten drunk together more times than Marcus could count. Tommy was the one who'd warned him that Snake was getting suspicious, told him to run while he still could. Marcus hadn't listened. Now he was betting his life that Tommy would help him one more time. He waited until the garage cleared out, until only one figure remained working under the hood of an old Chevy. Then he crossed the street moving fast, despite the pain, and slipped through the side door. Tommy looked up at the sound, his face going pale. Marcus, what the... He dropped his wrench and rushed forward. Brother, you're supposed to be dead. I know, keep your voice down. Tommy grabbed his arm and pulled him behind a stack of tires out of sight of the windows. How are you even alive? Snake said they cut you up good, left you to bleed out. They did. Someone found me, got me patched up. Marcus gripped Tommy's shoulder. I need your help. Help, Marcus, there's a bounty on your head. Every wolf in the state is looking for you. I know, But I need information, and you're the only one I can trust." Tommy's face was a war of emotions. Fear, loyalty, old friendship fighting against new dangers. Finally, he sighed. "What do you need?" "There's a family. Last name Parker. The father owes money to one of Snake's loan operations. I need to know how much and what Snake's planning to do about it." "Why do you care about some random family's debt?" "Because their daughter saved my life, and I'm not going to let Snake destroy them." Tommy stared at him. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." "Jesus, Marcus." Tommy ran a hand over his face. Okay, I'll see what I can find out, but you gotta stay hidden, man. If Snake finds out you're still breathing." "I know." Marcus clasped Tommy's hand. "Thank you, brother." "Don't thank me yet. Just stay alive long enough for me to find something." Marcus slipped out the way he came, heart-pounding ribs screaming. The whole encounter had taken less than 5 minutes, but it felt like hours. Now all he could do was wait. He made it back to Dorothy's apartment as the sun was setting, exhausted and bleeding through his bandages. Dorothy took one look at him and started cursing in a way that would have made a sailor blush. "You tore your stitches, you fool, man. What were you doing out there? Getting answers." Marcus collapsed onto the bed. "Or trying to, still waiting on the full picture." Dorothy pressed fresh gauze against his wound, her touch gentle despite her harsh words. "You're going to get yourself killed." "Probably. But not today." A soft knock at the door made them both freeze. Dorothy moved to the window, peering through a crack in the curtains. "It's Lily," she said, relaxing slightly. "And she's got someone with her." The door opened and Lily rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. "Marcus, you're back!" She threw herself at him, then pulled back immediately when he winced. "Oh no, did I hurt you?" "I'm fine, kid. Who's that with you?" A woman appeared in the doorway, tall and tired-looking in a nurse's uniform. Her brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and her eyes, the same warm brown as Lily's, were fixed on Marcus with a mixture of fear and something else. Recognition. "Mama, this is Marcus," Lily said proudly. "He's the man I found in the dumpster, the one I told you about." The woman, Rachel Parker, stepped into the room. Her hands were trembling. "You're the one," she whispered. "The one she wouldn't stop talking about. The biker she saved." "Mrs. Parker. She's been sneaking out every day to come see you. I finally got her to tell me where she's been going." Rachel's voice cracked. "I thought she was making it up. A man in a dumpster, a secret hideout, a new friend. I thought it was just stories." "It's not stories, Mama." Lily tugged on her mother's hand. "Marcus is real, and he needs our help." Rachel looked at her daughter, then at Dorothy, then finally at Marcus. He saw her taking in his tattoos, his worn leather vest, the blood seeping through his bandages. "You're Iron Wolves," she said flatly. "I've seen that patch before." "I was Iron Wolves, I'm not anymore." "Why should I believe that? Because I'm the reason your husband owes money to the people who hurt him." Rachel's face went white. "What? The loan operation your husband borrowed from. It's run by the same people who left me for dead. The same people I've been working to bring down for 3 years. Marcus forced himself to sit up to meet her eyes. "I know what your family's going through, Mrs. Parker, and I'm going to help you, but you need to trust me." Rachel stood frozen for a long moment. Lily watched her mother with anxious eyes. Finally, Rachel spoke. "Lily says you're a good man, that she can feel it." Her voice was thick with emotion. "My daughter has never been wrong about people. So against every instinct I have, I'm going to trust her judgment." She reached out her hand. "But if you hurt my family, if you do anything to put my daughter in danger, I will make what those bikers did to you look like a paper cut. Do you understand?" Marcus took her hand and shook it firmly. "Yes, ma'am. I understand completely." Later that night, after Lily had fallen asleep on Dorothy's couch, and Rachel had finally stopped crying long enough to tell the whole story, Marcus sat in the small kitchen with his head in his hands. It was worse than he'd thought. Daniel Parker Lily's father had been a successful accountant with a good job and a bright future. Then his mother-in-law, Rachel's mom, had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The treatment was experimental, not covered by insurance, and cost more than they made in a year. Daniel had gone to a bank first, then a credit union, then anyone who would listen. No one would lend to a man already drowning in medical bills, so he'd gone to the Iron Wolves. At first, it seemed like a miracle. Easy money, reasonable terms, a loan officer who smiled and promised everything would be fine. But the terms changed. The interest compounded. The reasonable payments became impossible, and when Daniel missed one, then another, the threats started. Now he owed over $100,000, more than he could pay in a lifetime. And Snake was getting impatient. They said if we don't have the next payment by the end of the month, there will be consequences. Rachel whispered, her voice hollow. They didn't say what kind. They didn't have to. Marcus felt sick. He knew exactly what kind of consequences Snake had in mind. He'd seen it happen before, watched families destroyed, lives ruined, all because they couldn't pay what they owed. And now it was happening to Lily's family. The same little girl who'd reached into a dumpster and pulled him back from the edge of death. "I'm going to fix this," he said quietly. Rachel looked at him with empty eyes. "How? We don't have the money. We never will." "I'm going to fix this," he repeated. "I don't know how yet, but I promise you, Mrs. Parker, your daughter saved my life. I'm going to save yours." Outside, the Memphis night pressed against the windows, dark and full of danger. Somewhere out there, Snake was waiting, his patience running thin, his operation continuing to devour lives like theirs. But Marcus wasn't dead. Against all odds, he was still breathing. And now he had something worth fighting for. Tommy called at 3 in the morning. Marcus grabbed the burner phone on the second ring, his heart already racing. Dorothy stirred in her chair, but didn't wake. Rachel had taken Lily home hours ago, promising to return at first light. "Talk to me," Marcus whispered. "It's bad, brother. Real bad." Tommy's voice was tight with fear. "The Parker debt. It's not just about money anymore. Snake's been watching that family for weeks." "Watching them why? The daughter, the little girl." Marcus's blood turned to ice. "What about her?" "There's a buyer, some rich piece of trash from overseas. He saw a photo of her, don't ask me how, and he's willing to pay. A lot." "How much?" $500,000. The same amount as the bounty on Marcus's head. That wasn't a coincidence. "When?" Marcus demanded. "End of the month. Same deadline as the debt. Snake figures if the father can't pay, he takes the girl as collateral. Ships her out, clears the debt, makes a profit on top." Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All he could see was Lily's face, her big brown eyes, her stubborn little chin, her absolute faith that he would protect her. "Tommy, I need everything. Names, dates, locations, whatever you can get." "Marcus, if I dig too deep." "I don't care. I'll burn the whole club to the ground if I have to, but I'm not letting them take that girl." Silence on the line. Then Tommy sighed. "I'll see what I can do. But Marcus, watch your back. Snake knows someone helped you survive. He's got people asking questions all over the neighborhood." The line went dead. Marcus sat in the darkness, his hands shaking. $500,000. That's what Lily's life was worth to these monsters. Less than a house, less than a fancy car, less than the bounty on his own worthless head. He thought about Sarah and Emma. Thought about how he'd failed to protect them, failed to be there when they needed him most. Not again. Never again. Whatever it took, whatever it cost, he was going to save Lily Parker. Or die trying. Rachel arrived at dawn with Lily in tow, and Daniel shuffling behind them. Marcus had heard a lot about Lily's father over the past 2 days, but seeing him in person was something else entirely. Daniel Parker was a shell of a man, gaunt, unshaven, with hollow eyes that couldn't seem to focus on anything for more than a few seconds. This was what Snake's operation did to people. Ground them down until there was nothing left. "You're him," Daniel said flatly, looking at Marcus. "The biker my daughter's been sneaking off to see." "Yes, sir." "Rachel says you want to help us. Says you know something about the people we owe." "I know everything about them." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then you know we're dead already. It's just a matter of time." "Daddy, don't say that." Lily grabbed her father's hand. "Marcus is going to help us. He promised." Daniel looked down at his daughter, and for a moment something flickered in his dead eyes. Love, maybe. Or guilt. Or both. Baby, there are some things even promises can't fix. "Daddy, your father's right," Marcus interrupted. Both Lily and Daniel stared at him. "Promises don't mean anything without action, so let me tell you what I'm going to do." He stood up, ignoring the pain in his side, and faced Daniel directly. "The people you owe money to are part of a criminal organization called the Iron Wolves. For 3 years I've been working undercover to gather evidence against them. I have records of every transaction, every victim, every dirty deal they've ever made. When I testify, their entire operation goes down." "Testify to who?" "The FBI. I'm a federal informant, Mr. Parker, or I was until they tried to kill me." Daniel blinked. "You're a Fed?" "I'm a dead man walking who used to ride with a gang. The FBI just happened to find a use for me." Marcus stepped closer. "But here's the thing. My testimony alone isn't enough anymore. My handler thinks I'm dead, my evidence is hidden where no one can find it, and Snake is getting ready to make a move that can't be undone." "What kind of move?" Marcus glanced at Lily, then back at Daniel. "We need to talk alone." "No." Rachel's voice was sharp. "Whatever you have to say, you say it in front of me. I'm done with secrets." "Mrs. Parker." I said no. "Lily, baby, go help Miss Dorothy in the kitchen." "But Mama..." "Now, Lily." The little girl's face crumpled, but she obeyed, dragging her feet as she went. The moment she was out of earshot, Rachel turned to Marcus with fire in her eyes. "Tell me everything." So he did. He told them about Snake's trafficking operation, about the girls being moved through Memphis like cargo, about the buyer who'd seen Lily's photo and decided she was worth $500,000. By the time he finished, Rachel was sobbing silently, and Daniel had gone so pale, Marcus thought he might pass out. "My daughter," Daniel whispered. "They want to take my daughter." "Yes." "Because I couldn't pay." "Yes." Daniel's hands curled into fists. For the first time since he'd walked in, something other than despair flickered across his face. Rage. "What do we do?" he asked, his voice cracking. "How do we stop them?" "First, we contact my FBI handler, let her know I'm alive and what's happening. Then we gather what evidence we can and pray it's enough to move on Snake before the deadline. And if it's not enough," Marcus met his eyes, "then I kill him myself." Agent Catherine Moore had worked organized crime for 15 years. She'd seen things that would make most people lose their faith in humanity. But nothing had prepared her for the phone call she received that morning. "Marcus," her voice cracked. "Marcus Brennan, you're supposed to be dead." "Sorry to disappoint you, Kate. Don't you dare! Don't you dare joke right now." She was crying, actually crying, and she never cried. "We thought they killed you. We had a memorial service. I spoke at your funeral." "What did you say? That you were the bravest son of a bitch I ever worked with, and Snake was going to pay for what he did?" She took a shaky breath. "Where are you? I'm coming to get you right now." "Not yet. There's something you need to know first." Marcus told her about Lily, about the Parkers, about the deadline and the buyer and everything Tommy had shared. When he finished, Catherine was silent for a long moment. "How old is the girl?" "6. Jesus Christ. "Can you move on? Snake, do we have enough? The trafficking evidence alone might be enough to get warrants, but Marcus, the case we built, it was centered on your testimony, without you on the stand. I'll testify, whatever it takes. You understand what that means. Witness protection, new identity, leaving everything behind. And even then, Snake's people might find you." "I know. So, why risk everything for a family you just met?" Marcus thought about Lily's face when she'd found him in that dumpster. The way she'd refused to leave him, refused to give up, even when any sensible person would have run away screaming. "Because someone has to," he said finally. "Because if I don't, what was any of it for?" Catherine sighed. "I'm booking a flight to Memphis tonight. Don't do anything stupid before I get there." "Define stupid." "Marcus. I'll be careful, Kate. Just hurry." The next 3 days were the longest of Marcus's life. He stayed hidden in Dorothy's apartment, healing slowly while Rachel and Daniel took turns keeping watch. Lily came every day after school, armed with drawings and stories and an endless stream of questions about motorcycles and soldiers and whether Marcus had ever seen a real live bear. She didn't know what was coming for her. Didn't know that men had put a price on her head, that her own father's desperation had painted a target on her back. And Marcus intended to keep it that way. On the third night, Dorothy found him sitting alone in the dark, staring at nothing. "You're thinking about them," she said softly. "Your wife and daughter." Marcus didn't ask how she knew. Dorothy had a way of seeing things other people missed. "Every day," he admitted. "Every minute of every day." "Tell me about them." So he did. Told her about Sarah's laugh, how it could fill a whole room. Told her about Emma's first steps, how she'd wobbled across the kitchen floor and straight into his arms. Told her about the life they'd been building, the future they'd never get to have. "I wasn't there," he said, his voice hollow. "When the drunk driver hit them, I was working late, trying to earn extra money for some stupid house we were never going to buy. And they died alone." Dorothy reached out and took his hand. Her skin was papery and warm. "Marcus, listen to me. What happened to your family wasn't your fault. You didn't cause that accident. You didn't choose for them to be on that road at that moment. But if I'd been there, you might have died too, or you might have been 5 minutes behind them and found them already gone. You don't know. You can't know, and torturing yourself with what-ifs won't bring them back." Tears burned in Marcus's eyes. He hadn't cried since the funeral, hadn't let himself feel anything but anger and guilt and the cold, numb drive for revenge. "I should have protected them." "You're protecting Lily now. You're protecting her family. Maybe that's the reason you survived that dumpster. Maybe that little girl finding you wasn't chance at all. Maybe it was grace." Marcus looked at her. "You really believe that? I've lived too long not to believe in something." Dorothy squeezed his hand. "The question is, what do you believe in?" For the first time in 8 years, Marcus didn't have an answer. But for the first time in 8 years, he wanted to find one. Catherine Moore arrived in Memphis on a Tuesday afternoon, driving a rental car and carrying a briefcase full of documents that represented 3 years of Marcus's life. They met in Dorothy's apartment. Rachel and Daniel were there, along with Lily, who refused to be left out despite everyone's protests. "So you're the famous Agent Moore," Dorothy said, eyeing the FBI agent with obvious suspicion. "You're the one who's supposed to be keeping him safe." "I'm the one who recruited him, yes." Catherine's expression was tight. "And I'm the one who's going to make sure his sacrifice wasn't for nothing." "It almost was," Rachel said sharply. "He almost died in a dumpster while your people did nothing." "We thought he was dead. There was a leak in the operation. Someone fed information to Snake, and by the time we realized Marcus was compromised..." "Enough." Marcus's voice cut through the tension. "What's done is done. The question now is, what happens next?" Catherine set her briefcase on the table and opened it. Inside were files, photos, recordings, everything Marcus had gathered over 3 years of undercover work. "With your testimony and this evidence, we can take down Snake and his entire operation. But the timeline is tight. We need to move fast." "How fast?" "I can get warrants by end of week, raids by Monday at the latest." "The deadline for the Parkers is Sunday." Catherine's face darkened. "That's cutting it close." "Then we need to cut it closer." Marcus leaned forward. "What about witness protection for the family? Can you get them out before the raids?" "I can try, but these things take time. Paperwork approvals, safe houses." "We don't have time." Daniel's voice was barely controlled. "My daughter's life is on the line." "I understand that, Mr. Parker. I do, but I can't snap my fingers and make federal bureaucracy disappear." "Then what good are you?" "Daniel." Rachel grabbed her husband's arm. "This isn't helping." "None of this is helping. While we sit here talking, Snake's men are out there watching us, waiting for Sunday. And when it comes, nothing's going to happen on Sunday." Marcus's voice was steel. "Because I'm going to make sure of it." Everyone turned to stare at him. "What are you planning?" Catherine asked slowly. "The evidence I gathered, the really damaging stuff, it's hidden somewhere Snake's been trying to find for months." "Where? Doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm the only one who knows where it is, and that makes me valuable." "Marcus, what are you saying?" He looked at Lily, who was watching him with those big, trusting eyes. "I'm saying I'm going to offer Snake a trade. The evidence for the family's debt, all of it wiped clean." "That's insane!" Catherine exploded. "You'll be walking into a death trap." "Maybe, but it buys time. If Snake thinks he's getting what he wants, he won't move on the Parkers, and that gives you time to get those warrants and take him down for good." "And what about you? What happens when Snake realizes you're playing him?" Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Then I guess I finally get to see Sarah and Emma again." Lily found him that night, sitting on Dorothy's small back porch. "You're gonna do something dangerous," she said, climbing up beside him. "I can tell. You've got the same face Daddy has when he's scared, but pretending not to be." Marcus looked at her. 6 years old, tangled hair dirt on her dress eyes that had already seen too much. "Yeah," he admitted. "I am." "Is it because of me? Because of what those bad men want to do?" "You know about that. I heard you talking. I know I wasn't supposed to, but I couldn't help it." Her voice wobbled. "They want to take me away, don't they? Like those girls on the news that disappear and never come back." Marcus's heart shattered. This child, this innocent little girl, shouldn't know anything about the darkness in the world. She should be worried about homework and birthday parties and whether she'd get a puppy for Christmas. "Hey." He turned to face her fully. "Look at me, Lily." She looked up, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm not going to let anyone take you. Do you hear me? Whatever happens, whatever I have to do, you're going to be safe. You and your mom and your dad. I promise." "But what about you? What about me? If you go away, I'll miss you." Her voice cracked. You're my friend, my best friend, even better than Sophie from school, and Sophie has a trampoline." Marcus pulled her into a hug, careful of his injured side. She was so small, so fragile, and yet she'd shown more courage in the past week than most people showed in a lifetime. "I'll miss you too, kid. More than you know." "Then don't go. Stay here with us. We can hide together." "It doesn't work like that, Lily. The bad men won't stop looking. The only way to keep you safe is to stop them for good. By being brave. By being brave." Lily pulled back and wiped her nose on her sleeve. "Okay, but you have to promise me something." "What's that?" "You have to try to come back. Really try. Not just say you will and then not do it." Marcus looked into her eyes, and he saw something there that made his breath catch. Faith. Pure, unshakable faith. In him. In the man she'd found bleeding in a dumpster. "I promise," he said. "I'll try." "Pinky swear." She held out her tiny finger. Marcus wrapped his own around it. Pinky swear. The call to Snake happened the next morning. Marcus used the burner phone, his hands steady, despite the terror coiling in his gut. Catherine stood beside him, her face pale, while Rachel held Lily in the kitchen, and Daniel paced like a caged animal. The phone rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Well, well." The dead man rises. "Hello, Snake." "Marcus Brennan. I have to admit I'm impressed. My boys did a thorough job on you. Most men would have died in that dumpster." "Most men aren't me." "No, I suppose they're not." Snake's voice was silk over steel. "So tell me, brother, why are you calling come to beg for mercy?" "I'm calling to make a deal." Silence. Then a low, dangerous laugh. "A deal? You betray me. You feed information to the feds for 3 years, and now you want to make a deal. I want to make a trade. The evidence I gathered, all of it. Locations, records, names, every piece of documentation that could bring down your operation. I'll give you everything." "In exchange for what?" "The Parker family. Their debt gets wiped. Completely. They walk away free and clear, and you never touch them again." More silence. Marcus could almost hear Snake calculating weighing options, looking for the trap. "You'd trade 3 years of work for some random family you don't even know." "I would." "Why?" Marcus closed his eyes. "Because I'm tired, Victor. Tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of pretending I'm something I'm not. I just want it to be over." "And what about you? What happens after you hand over the evidence?" "That's up to you." Snake laughed again, longer this time. "You know I'll kill you. The moment I have what I want, you're a dead man." "I know." "And you're still willing to make this trade?" Marcus looked through the kitchen doorway at Lily, who was watching him with her hand pressed against the glass. "Yes." Snake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Softer, almost impressed. "You've got guts, Brennan. I'll give you that. More guts than brains, but guts nonetheless." "Is that a yes?" "Saturday. Midnight. The old warehouse on River Road. You come alone, you bring the evidence, and we'll discuss terms." "And the Parkers?" "If you deliver what you promise, they're free. You have my word." "Your word doesn't mean much, Snake." "No, but it's all you've got." A pause. "Saturday, Marcus. Don't be late." The line went dead. Marcus lowered the phone. His hands were shaking now. "You're not actually going through with this," Catherine said. "Tell me you have a plan." "I have a plan." "What is it?" Marcus looked at her. "Saturday's raid day. You move on Snake's operations at midnight. His attention will be on me at the warehouse. He won't see it coming. And what about you? You'll be trapped with him when the raids go down. I'll have backup." "What backup? I can't put agents at that warehouse without tipping him off." "I'm not talking about agents." Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. I'm talking about brothers. Elijah Cross picked up on the first ring. This better be important. I was in the middle of, Eli, it's Marcus. Dead silence. Then, Marcus Brennan. The Marcus Brennan who disappeared off the face of the earth 3 years ago. The same. Brother, where the hell have you been? We thought you went dark. Thought maybe you'd gotten yourself killed. Almost did. Listen, Eli, I need help. The kind you used to give back in the unit. What kind of help are we talking? The dangerous kind. Another pause. I'm listening. Marcus told him everything. The undercover work, the trafficking, the attempt on his life, and now the trade that would either save an innocent family or get him killed. When he finished, Eli let out a long whistle. That's a hell of a story, brother. It's not a story. It's my life. I know. That's what makes it a hell of a story. Eli was quiet for a moment. How many men does Snake have? At the warehouse, probably a dozen, maybe more. And you're planning to walk in there alone. I was planning to walk in there and hope the FBI moves fast enough to save my ass. That's a terrible plan. I know. Good thing you called me then. Marcus could hear Eli moving gathering gear. I've got 6 guys who owe me favors, vets all of them, good men who know how to handle themselves. We can be in Memphis by tomorrow night. Eli, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm volunteering. That's what brothers do. Eli's voice hardened. Besides, anyone who traffics kids deserves worse than what we're gonna give them. Consider it a public service. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. He wasn't alone. After all these years, he still had people willing to stand beside him. Thank you, Eli. I mean it. Save the thanks for after we survive. I'll text you when we hit town. The line clicked off. Marcus stared at the phone for a long moment. Then he looked up at Catherine, who had been listening to the entire exchange. You've got reinforcements, she said slowly. Military-trained reinforcements. I do. This might actually work. It might. Catherine shook her head, but there was something like admiration in her eyes. You're either the bravest man I've ever met, or the dumbest. Probably both. Probably. She pulled out her own phone. I need to make some calls. If we're doing this on Saturday, I need those warrants yesterday. She stepped outside, already dialing. Marcus sat down heavily, his body aching, his mind racing. 48 hours until the meeting. 48 hours until everything came to a head. He thought about Lily, about the promise he'd made. He thought about Sarah and Emma waiting for him somewhere beyond. And he thought about what Dorothy had said about Grace. Maybe she was right. Maybe surviving that dumpster wasn't just luck or chance. Maybe there was a reason he was still breathing, still fighting, still hoping despite everything. One way or another, he was about to find out. The night before the meeting, Lily snuck out again. Marcus heard the soft knock at Dorothy's door around midnight. When he opened it there, she was standing in her pajamas with her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. I had a bad dream, she whispered. What about, you were gone, and I couldn't find you anywhere. Marcus knelt down so he was at her level. I'm right here, Lily. I'm not gone. But you will be. Tomorrow night you're gonna go see the bad man, and maybe you won't come back. Hey. He put his hands on her shoulders. Remember what I promised I'm going to try. Really try. I know, but trying isn't the same as doing. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good. You're right, Marcus admitted. It's not, but sometimes trying is all we can do. Lily thought about this for a moment. Then she held out her stuffed rabbit. This is Mr. Whiskers. He's been with me since I was a baby. Mama says he has magic powers that keep bad dreams away. Marcus looked at the worn, slightly lopsided rabbit with its button eyes and floppy ears. He's beautiful. I want you to take him. For tomorrow. Lily, I can't take your rabbit. You have to. He'll protect you. Her voice was fierce. And when you come back, you can give him to me. That way you have to come back. Because Mr. Whiskers needs to come home. Marcus felt his throat tighten. This child, this impossible, wonderful child was giving him her most precious possession because she believed it would keep him safe. Okay, he said softly. I'll take him, and I'll bring him back. Promise, promise. Lily threw her arms around his neck and hugged him tight. You're the best friend I ever had, Marcus. Even better than Sophie. Even better than Sophie with the trampoline. Way better. Marcus hugged her back, memorizing the feel of her small arms around his neck, the smell of her strawberry shampoo, the warmth of her absolute trust. You're the best friend I ever had too, Lily. Now go home before your mama realizes you're gone. She pulled back and smiled bright as the sun despite the darkness. See you when you get back. And then she was gone, running across the parking lot in her pajamas, her absence leaving a hole in Marcus's chest that nothing could fill. He looked down at Mr. Whiskers clutched in his scarred and tattooed hands. Okay, rabbit, he muttered. Looks like it's you and me. The rabbit stared back at him with its button eyes silent and patient and full of magic, or at least full of something that looked a lot like hope. Saturday came faster than anyone was ready for. Marcus stood in Dorothy's kitchen at 6 p.m, checking the burner phone for the 100th time. Eli had texted an hour ago. They were in position scattered around the warehouse district, waiting for his signal. Catherine had confirmed the warrants. FBI teams would hit Snake's operations at midnight sharp. Every clubhouse, every stash house, every front business the Iron Wolves operated would be raided simultaneously. All Marcus had to do was keep Snake distracted long enough for it all to come together. Simple. Easy. Nothing could go wrong. He almost laughed at his own lie. You don't have to do this. Marcus turned. Rachel stood in the doorway, her arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold herself together. Yes, I do. There has to be another way. Catherine could arrest him now tonight before you ever set foot in that warehouse. Without the element of surprise, Snake's people scatter. Evidence disappears. And the buyers he works with, they find another supplier, another source. The operation keeps going just under a different name. But you could die. I could. Marcus tucked the phone into his pocket. But your daughter won't. That's what matters. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. She loves you, you know. Lily. She talks about you constantly. Marcus said this, Marcus did that. You're her hero. I'm nobody's hero, Mrs. Parker. You're wrong. Rachel stepped closer. You're exactly the hero she needed. The hero we all needed. She reached out and touched his arm. Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know that. What you're doing for my family, for my daughter, I'll never be able to repay it. You don't have to repay anything. Just keep Lily safe. That's all I ask. I will. Rachel's voice cracked. I promise. Dorothy appeared behind her, holding a small, leather-bound book. Before you go, I want you to have this. Marcus took the book. It was a Bible worn and weathered from decades of use. It was my husband's, Dorothy said softly. He carried it through Vietnam, said it saved his life more times than he could count, not because of any magic, mind you, but because it reminded him what he was fighting for. Dorothy, I can't. You can and you will. Her voice brooked no argument. You bring that back to me when this is over, along with yourself. Understood? Marcus looked at the Bible in his hands, then at the old woman who had taken him in without question. who had believed in him when she had every reason not to. Understood. Good. Dorothy reached up and patted his cheek. Now go save that little girl's family. And come home safe. The warehouse waited in darkness. Marcus approached alone, just as Snake had demanded. Mr. Whiskers was tucked into his jacket pocket, pressed against his heart. Dorothy's Bible was in the other pocket, a counterweight of faith against the rabbit's magic. He was armed with nothing but a manila folder full of evidence and the desperate hope that his plan would work. The door groaned as he pushed it open. Inside, shadows moved. He counted at least 8 men, probably more hidden in the darkness. And there, in the center of it all, sat Victor, Snake Kruger. The Iron Wolves president looked exactly as Marcus remembered. Shaved head, dead eyes, a smile that never quite reached them. He wore his leather vest like armor, the patches gleaming even in the dim light. Marcus, Snake spread his arms wide. Welcome back from the dead. Victor. Oh, we're being formal now, after everything we've been through. Snake laughed, but there was no warmth in it. Come, brother, let's talk like civilized men. He gestured to a chair across from him. Marcus walked forward, every nerve screaming at him to run, and sat down. You look terrible, Snake observed. My boys really did a number on you. Your boys got sloppy. That's why I'm still breathing. Sloppy? Or was it something else? Snake leaned forward. Word on the street is, someone helped you. An old woman and a little girl. The same little girl whose father owes me a considerable debt. Marcus's blood went cold, but he kept his face neutral. What about it? Just seems like quite a coincidence, don't you think? You end up in a dumpster behind that specific apartment building, and the daughter of my debtor happens to find you. Snake's smile widened. Almost like fate. I don't believe in fate. Neither do I. I believe in opportunity. Snake sat back. So here's what I'm thinking, Marcus. You didn't come here to trade evidence for the Parker debt. You came here to buy time. Marcus's heart stopped. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the FBI teams currently gathering at 4 different locations around Memphis. I'm talking about the warrants that were filed this morning. I'm talking about the raid that's supposed to happen at midnight. Snake's eyes gleamed. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Marcus couldn't breathe. The leak. The same leak that had betrayed him before. It was still active. Who told you? Does it matter? What matters is that I know, and because I know my people are already evacuating. By the time your Fed friends kick down our doors, they'll find nothing but empty rooms and cold coffee. No. 3 years of work, hundreds of hours of evidence gathering, everything he'd sacrificed, everything he'd risked, all of it for nothing. You look surprised, Snake said. Did you think I survived this long by being stupid? I knew there was a leak in my organization. I just didn't know it was you until recently. But I played along, fed you just enough information to keep you busy while I built contingencies. The trafficking operation, relocated, new routes, new contacts, new buyers. The girls we had scheduled for transport are already gone. By this time tomorrow, they'll be on 3 different continents. Marcus felt sick. Those girls. Those innocent girls he'd been trying to save. Gone. And the Parkers, he managed to ask. Ah, yes. The Parkers. Snake stood up and began to pace. That's where things get interesting. You see, I was going to let them go. The debt, the daughter, all of it. A small price to pay for the satisfaction of watching you realize how completely you'd failed. Was going to... But then I got curious. Why does Marcus Brennan care so much about this particular family? What makes them special? Snake stopped pacing and turned to face him. So I did some digging. And do you know what I found? Marcus said nothing. I found that the little girl Lily, she's the one who found you. She's the one who saved your life. Snake laughed. A 6-year-old child pulled you back from death's door, and now you're willing to die for her. It's almost poetic. Leave her out of this. I'm afraid I can't do that. You see, Marcus, you took something from me. My operation, my reputation, my trust. And now I'm going to take something from you. Snake's smile turned cruel. I'm going to take that little girl, and I'm going to make sure you live long enough to know exactly what happened to her. Marcus exploded out of his chair. He got 3 steps before 2 of Snake's men grabbed him, slamming him to the ground. Pain erupted through his still healing wounds, but he barely felt it. All he could think about was Lily. Right now, some of my men are heading to the church where that old woman lives. Snake continued circling Marcus like a shark. They're going to collect the girl and her mother, the father too if he's there. And then they're going to bring them here, so you can watch what happens next. If you touch her, I swear to God, you'll heroically sacrifice yourself for her safety. Snake crouched down so he was at eye level. Marcus, you're already dead. You were dead the moment you walked through that door. The only question now is how much you suffer before the end. He stood up and nodded to his men. Tie him up, and someone get me that evidence folder. I want to see exactly what he thought he had on me. Dorothy was reading her Bible when the front door exploded inward. 3 men in black rushed into her tiny apartment, guns drawn. She didn't scream, didn't run. Just closed her Bible calmly and looked up at them with steady eyes. Where's the girl? The first one demanded. What girl? Don't play games with me, old woman. The Parker kid. We know she's been coming here. Child comes here sometimes to visit, but she's not here now. The man grabbed Dorothy by the arm and yanked her to her feet. Then where is she? How should I know I'm not her keeper? He struck her across the face. Dorothy stumbled, but didn't fall. A thin line of blood trickled from her lip. Search the place, the man ordered. If she's hiding here, find her. The other 2 men began tearing through Dorothy's apartment, overturning furniture, ripping open closets. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. Lily wasn't there. She was supposed to be. Rachel had brought her over earlier that evening so she could say goodbye to Marcus before he left. But at the last minute, Lily had thrown a fit, refusing to let Marcus go, clinging to his leg and crying until he promised he would come back. Rachel had taken her home to calm her down. That was 3 hours ago. She's not here, one of the men reported. Then we go to the apartment, the parents' place. The first man tightened his grip on Dorothy. And you're coming with us, old woman. Insurance. Dorothy looked at him with something that might have been pity. You have no idea what you've done, do you? What you've set in motion. Shut up. The Lord works in mysterious ways, son, and sometimes those ways involve consequences you never saw coming. The man laughed. Lady, your Lord isn't going to help you tonight? We'll see about that. Rachel heard the pounding on her door at 11:30. She'd been pacing the apartment for hours, jumping at every sound, unable to shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Daniel sat on the couch, staring at nothing, while Lily slept fitfully in her room. Rachel Parker, a voice shouted. Open this door, or we'll break it down. Rachel's blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. It belonged to one of the men who'd come to threaten Daniel weeks ago. One of Snake's collectors. Go to Lily, she hissed at Daniel. Get her out the back window. Now. Rachel, now. Daniel. He moved finally, stumbling toward Lily's room while Rachel approached the door. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady when she called out. What do you want? Your daughter. Open the door and hand her over, and nobody gets hurt. She's not here. I sent her to stay with relatives. A pause. Then the door shuddered as something heavy slammed against it. Once. Twice. On the third blow, the lock gave way, and 3 men spilled into the apartment. Rachel grabbed the nearest thing she could find, a heavy cast-iron skillet from the kitchen counter, and swung it with everything she had. The first man went down hard, blood streaming from his temple. The second one caught her arm before she could swing again. He twisted it behind her back until she screamed. "Nice try, Mama Bear, but not nice enough." He shoved her toward the couch. "Where's the kid?" "I told you she's not here." The third man had already moved toward the bedrooms. Rachel heard him kick open Lily's door, heard him curse when he found it empty. "Back window's open. They went out the fire escape. Go after them." 2 of the men ran for the back of the apartment. The one holding Rachel threw her onto the couch and pointed a gun at her face. "You just made this a lot worse for yourself, lady. When we find that kid," a crash from the hallway cut him off, then shouting, then gunfire. The man spun toward the door just as it flew open, and Elijah Cross stormed in weapon-drawn eyes blazing. "Get down!" Eli shouted at Rachel. She dropped. Eli fired 3 times. The man collapsed in a heap, his gun clattering across the floor. "Clear!" Eli called out. 2 more veterans appeared behind him, moving through the apartment with military precision. Within seconds, they'd secured the other rooms and confirmed what Rachel already knew. Daniel and Lily were gone. "They went out the back," Rachel gasped, scrambling to her feet. "The fire escape. 2 men went after them." "Jackson Rodriguez with me." Eli turned to Rachel. "Stay here. Lock the door behind us." "No. That's my daughter out there." "Ma'am, I said no." Rachel grabbed the fallen man's gun with hands that had stopped shaking. "That's my baby. I'm coming." Eli looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. And if you have to shoot, don't hesitate." They ran. Daniel's lungs burned as he sprinted through the alley. Lily clutched against his chest. She was crying, asking questions he couldn't answer, begging to know what was happening, and where Mommy was, and why they were running. He couldn't explain, could barely think. All he knew was that he had to keep moving, had to get her somewhere safe. This was his fault. All of it. If he'd never borrowed that money, if he'd found another way, if he'd been stronger, braver, smarter, his daughter wouldn't be running for her life right now. "Daddy, I'm scared." "I know, baby, I know. Just hold on." Footsteps behind them. Getting closer. Daniel ducked around a corner and pressed himself against the wall, hand over Lily's mouth to muffle her sobs. 2 shadows passed by, moving fast, scanning the darkness. "They went this way. Come on." Daniel waited until they were gone, then started moving again. He didn't know where he was going. Just away. Anywhere away. They made it another block before his legs gave out. He stumbled, nearly dropped Lily, caught himself against a dumpster. His chest was on fire. He hadn't run like this in years, and his body was making him pay for it. "Daddy, I'm okay, sweetheart. Just need a second." "Are the bad men going to get us?" Daniel looked at his daughter. Her face was pale with fear, her eyes wide and wet with tears. She was 6 years old. She should be home in bed, dreaming about butterflies and stuffed rabbits and happy things. Instead, she was hiding in an alley, running from men who wanted to sell her to the highest bidder. Because of him. "No," he said, and his voice was steadier than he expected. "No, baby. The bad men aren't going to get us. I won't let them. Promise, promise." He picked her up again, ignoring the screaming protest of his muscles, and started moving. 1 foot in front of the other. 1 block at a time. He didn't know how long he could keep going, but he knew one thing for certain. He would die before he let anyone take his daughter. Back at the warehouse, Marcus worked at the ropes binding his wrists. Snake had left him under the guard of 2 men while he coordinated with the teams heading to grab Lily. The evidence folder lay open on the table nearby, its contents scattered and irrelevant now. 3 years of work, all for nothing. Except it wasn't for nothing. Not yet. Marcus had been in worse situations. Afghanistan had taught him that there was always a way out, always an angle you hadn't considered, always a moment of opportunity if you were patient enough to wait for it. One of the guards was young, nervous, his gun wavering every time a shadow moved. The other was older, confident, but his attention kept drifting to his phone. Neither of them was watching Marcus closely enough. His fingers found the edge of the rope. It was rough, poorly tied. Sloppy work, just like the job Snake's men had done, leaving him for dead. He worked at the knot, ignoring the pain, as the rope burned against his skin. Slowly, centimeter by centimeter, it began to loosen. Snake's voice crackled over one of the guards' radios. "Status report. The old woman's been collected. Teams are pursuing the father and daughter now." "Good. Bring them all here. I want Marcus to see the whole family before we finish this." The radio went silent. Marcus felt the last of the rope give way. He didn't hesitate. Didn't plan. Just moved. His fist connected with the younger guard's throat before the kid could react. He went down, choking gun clattering to the floor. Marcus grabbed it and spun, firing twice at the older guard before he could raise his weapon. Both men hit the ground. Marcus stood over them, breathing hard, the gun steady in his hands. 8 years since he'd killed anyone. 8 years since Afghanistan. It felt exactly the same. Easy as breathing. Terrifying as hell. He grabbed the radio from the fallen guard's belt. "Eli, you there? Static." Then, "Marcus, what's happening?" "Snake knows about the raid. His people are evacuating, but they're also going after the Parkers. Dorothy's been grabbed. Daniel and Lily are running." "We know. We're tracking them now. Rachel's with us." "Where are they?" "Heading north toward the old textile district. Snake's men are closing in." Marcus checked his gun. 6 rounds left. It would have to be enough. "I'm on my way." "Marcus, Snake's still at the warehouse. If you leave, Catherine can handle Snake. Lily can't handle his men." He didn't wait for a response. Just ran. Daniel couldn't go any further. His body simply refused. One moment he was running, the next, he was on his knees, gasping for air, Lily still clutched in his arms. "Daddy, Daddy, get up! I can't, baby, I'm sorry, I can't!" Footsteps. Close now. Getting closer. Daniel looked around desperately. They were in some kind of old industrial area. Abandoned buildings everywhere, but all the doors were locked or boarded up. Nowhere to hide. Nowhere to run. "Daddy, please. I'm trying, sweetheart. I'm trying." The footsteps stopped. Daniel looked up and saw 2 men standing at the end of the alley, guns raised, faces hard. "End of the line, Parker," one of them said. "Hand over the girl." Daniel's arms tightened around Lily. "No. That wasn't a request. I said no." Daniel's voice cracked, but he forced himself to meet their eyes. "You want her, you'll have to go through me." The men exchanged glances. Then the first one shrugged. "If that's how you want it." He raised his gun. Daniel closed his eyes, pulled Lily's face against his chest so she wouldn't see. The shot never came. Instead, there was a scream, a crash. More gunfire, but from somewhere else, somewhere above. Daniel's eyes flew open. Marcus Brennan dropped from a fire escape and landed on the first gunman like a force of nature. They went down in a tangle of limbs, and Marcus came up with the man's gun in his hands. The second gunman turned to fire, but Marcus was faster. 2 shots center mass. The man crumpled. "Daniel." Marcus was at his side in an instant. "Are you hurt? Is Lily hurt?" We're okay. We're okay." Daniel was crying now, couldn't stop crying. "How did you find us? Doesn't matter. We need to move. Now." He helped Daniel to his feet, took Lily from his arms when it became clear Daniel couldn't carry her anymore. "Marcus!" Lily threw her arms around his neck. "You came. I knew you would come." "Of course I came, kid. I promised, remember. Mister. Whiskers kept you safe." Marcus felt the stuffed rabbit still pressed against his chest, warm from his body heat. "Yeah," he said softly. "He did." More footsteps behind them. More men coming. "This way." Marcus led them toward a gap between buildings. "There's a service tunnel 2 blocks north. Eli's people are holding it. We just need to..." Gunfire cut him off. Bullets sparked off the wall inches from his head. Marcus shoved Daniel and Lily behind a stack of pallets and returned fire, counting shots, counting enemies. 4 more men. At least 4. Maybe more. "Stay down," he ordered. "Don't move no matter what happens." "Marcus, promise me Daniel. Promise me you'll keep her safe." Daniel nodded, tears streaming down his face. Marcus turned to Lily. She was pale, shaking, but her eyes were fierce. "You're gonna fight them," she said. "Like a superhero." "Something like that." "Don't die, okay? You promised you'd come back." "I know, kid." He touched her cheek gently. "I know." Then he stood up and walked toward the gunfire. Catherine Moore arrived at the warehouse at 12:07 a.m. with 15 federal agents and a burning desire to put Victor Kruger in handcuffs. What she found instead was chaos. 2 of Snake's men lay dead on the floor. The evidence folder Marcus had brought was scattered everywhere, and Snake himself was nowhere to be found. "Spread out," she ordered. "Find him." Her phone buzzed. Marcus's number. "Tell me you're alive," she said by way of greeting. "Barely. Snake's men had the Parkers. I got Daniel and Lily out, but there are more coming." "Where are you?" "Textile District North End. I've got 4 hostiles pinned down, but I'm running low on ammunition." "Hold your position. I'm sending backup." "Make it fast, Kate. I don't know how long I can..." The line went dead. Catherine stared at her phone. Then she grabbed the nearest agent. "Get me every available unit to the Textile District, now." Marcus was down to his last bullet. He'd taken out 2 of the 4 gunmen, but the other 2 had found cover and were slowly advancing on his position. Daniel and Lily were still hidden behind the pallets, but it was only a matter of time before the shooters flanked them. His side was bleeding again. The stitches Dorothy had so carefully placed had torn open somewhere during the fighting. He could feel his strength fading with every heartbeat. 1 bullet. 2 enemies. Impossible odds. But he'd faced impossible odds before. He thought about Sarah and Emma. Thought about how he'd failed them. How he'd spent 8 years running from that failure, hiding in gangs and alcohol and violence. And then he thought about Lily, about her faith in him, about Mr. Whiskers, and Dorothy's Bible, and Rachel's tears, and Daniel's broken promises. He thought about second chances. And he decided that if he was going to die tonight, he was going to die saving someone instead of destroying himself. He stood up from cover. Both gunmen saw him at the same time. Both raised their weapons. Marcus fired his last bullet. The first gunman went down. The second one smiled and pulled his trigger. Click. Empty. They stared at each other for a heartbeat. Then the gunman threw down his weapon and charged. They met in a collision of fists and fury. Marcus was bigger, stronger, better trained, but he was also wounded, exhausted, running on fumes. The gunman got his hands around Marcus's throat. Marcus felt the world going gray at the edges, felt the darkness creeping in. And then a voice. Small. Fierce. Impossibly brave. "Leave him alone. Lily burst from behind the pallets, her father's dropped gun in her tiny hands. She couldn't lift it properly, could barely hold it, but her eyes were blazing with 6-year-old fury. The gunman laughed. "Put that down, little girl, before you hurt yourself." "Let him go." "Lily, run," Marcus gasped. She didn't run. She stood her ground, trembling but defiant, pointing that too-heavy gun at the man who was killing her friend. The distraction was enough. Marcus's knee came up hard. The gunman doubled over, grip loosening. Marcus grabbed his head and twisted. The crack echoed through the alley. The gunman dropped. Marcus fell to his knees, gasping for air, blood streaming from his reopened wounds. Lily was at his side immediately, her small hands pressing against his injury like she'd seen her mother do 100 times. "You're hurt," she said, crying. "You're hurt real bad." "I'm okay, kid. I'm okay." "You're lying. Grown-ups always lie when they're hurt." Marcus almost laughed. "Yeah, you're right. I'm lying." Daniel appeared, scooping Lily into his arms, his face a mask of terror and relief, and something else. Gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you. Thank you." Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Marcus let himself fall backward, staring up at the stars. Whiskers had slipped out of his pocket during the fight, lying on the pavement beside him. He reached out and grabbed it. "I told you," he murmured. "Magic." Lily's face appeared above him, tear-streaked and fierce. "You kept your promise. You came back." "I kept my promise," Marcus agreed. And then the darkness finally took him. The heart monitor beeped, steady and slow. Marcus drifted somewhere between consciousness and oblivion, aware of voices but unable to respond. Someone was crying. Someone else was praying. And somewhere far away, a little girl was asking if her friend was going to be okay. "He lost a lot of blood," a doctor's voice said. The knife wounds had partially healed, but the physical exertion tore everything open again. "He's lucky to be alive." "Lucky?" That was Rachel, her voice thick with exhaustion. "He almost died saving my family, and you call it lucky?" "I call it miraculous, ma'am. By all medical standards, this man should have died 3 times over in the past week. Whatever's keeping him going, it's not something I learned in medical school." Marcus wanted to laugh. He wanted to tell them it was a stuffed rabbit, and an old woman's Bible, and a 6-year-old girl who refused to let him give up. But his body wouldn't cooperate. So he just floated, listening, waiting for the strength to come back. Lily's voice cut through the fog. "Can I hold his hand? Mama says holding hands helps people get better." "Of course you can, sweetheart." Small fingers wrapped around Marcus's larger ones. Warm, steady, fierce. "You hear me, Marcus? You gotta wake up. You promised. Pinky promised. And you can't break a pinky promise. That's the rule." Her voice cracked. She was crying now, trying not to, failing badly. "Please wake up. Please, I'll do anything. I'll eat all my vegetables forever. I'll be nice to Tommy Jenkins even though he's mean. I'll never sneak out again. Just please, please wake up." Something stirred in Marcus's chest. Something stronger than the pain. Stronger than the exhaustion, stronger than the darkness pulling him down. A promise, a pinky promise. His fingers tightened around hers. Lily gasped. "Mama, Mama, he squeezed my hand. What are you sure?" "He did, he squeezed." Lily leaned closer. "Marcus, can you hear me?" His eyes opened. The world was blurry, too bright, but he could make out Lily's face hovering above him, tear-streaked and radiant with hope. "Hey, kid," he rasped. Lily burst into tears and threw herself against his chest. It hurt like hell, but Marcus didn't care. He wrapped one weak arm around her and held on. "You came back," she sobbed. You really came back. Told you I would. Can't break a pinky promise. Rachel appeared beside the bed, her eyes red-rimmed but shining. Daniel stood behind her, looking like a man who'd aged 10 years in a single night. How do you feel? Rachel asked. Like I got hit by a truck. Then the truck backed up and hit me again. Marcus tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. What happened after I passed out, I mean? The FBI arrived. They got you to the hospital. Eli and his men secured the area. Rachel paused. Dorothy's okay. They roughed her up some, but she's tougher than she looks. She's been here every day praying over you. Every day. How long have I been out? 4 days. 4 days. Marcus closed his eyes. 4 days of his life gone. And Snake, the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. He got away, Daniel said quietly. During the chaos at the warehouse, he slipped out. The FBI's been searching, but... He shook his head. He's in the wind. Marcus felt something cold settle in his gut. Snake was still out there, still dangerous, still a threat to everyone Marcus cared about. The operation dismantled, most of it anyway. Catherine said they arrested 37 people, seized millions in assets, rescued a dozen girls who were being held for transport. Rachel's voice softened. You did good, Marcus. You took down an empire. I didn't take down Snake. You will, when you're better. What if better isn't fast enough? Nobody had an answer for that. 2 days later, Marcus was sitting up in bed when Catherine Moore walked in. She looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair escaping from its usual tight bun suit, rumpled like she'd been sleeping in it, which, knowing Catherine, she probably had. You look terrible, Marcus said. You should talk. She pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. Doctors say you're healing faster than expected. Something about stubborn patients being the hardest to kill. I've had practice. Apparently. Catherine leaned forward. I need to talk to you about Snake. What about him? We've been tracking his movements, or trying to. He's good at disappearing. But we got a tip this morning. Someone on the inside, one of the men we arrested, he's willing to talk in exchange for a deal. What kind of tip? Snake's not running. He's regrouping. Catherine's eyes were hard. He's put together a team. New men outside the Iron Wolves network. Mercenaries from what we can tell. Professional hitters? For what? For you? For the Parkers? For anyone connected to the raid? She paused. He's coming back, Marcus. And when he does, he's going to try to finish what he started. Marcus's hands curled into fists. When? We don't know. Could be days. Could be weeks. The informant wasn't sure of the timeline. Then we need to move the Parkers. Get them into witness protection. Now. Already working on it, but there's a problem. Catherine hesitated. The leak, the one who betrayed you, we still don't know who it is. Until we do, witness protection might not be safe. If Snake has someone inside the system, she didn't need to finish the sentence. Marcus stared at the ceiling. Snake had contacts everywhere. Money bought loyalty, and Snake had plenty of both. What do you suggest? I suggest we set a trap, use you as bait, draw Snake out, and take him down once and for all. Use me as bait while the Parkers sit exposed, no. Marcus. I said no, and he turned to face her. I'm not risking that family again, not for anything. Then what do you propose? Marcus thought about it. Thought about Snake, about his ego, about the way he operated. The man was a predator. He didn't just want to kill his enemies. He wanted to destroy them. wanted to watch them suffer, wanted them to know they'd lost before he delivered the final blow. "Snake's not going to hire out my death," Marcus said slowly. "Not after everything that's happened. It's too personal. He'll want to do it himself. So we make it personal. We make it impossible for him to resist coming after me directly. And when he does, we'll be ready." "How do we make it personal?" Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We hit him where it hurts. His money, his reputation, his pride. We make him so angry he stops thinking clearly. And then we end this." Catherine studied him for a long moment. "You've changed, Brennan. The man I recruited 3 years ago would never have come up with something like this. The man you recruited 3 years ago didn't have anything to lose. And now," Marcus looked toward the door where he could hear Lily's voice in the hallway chattering to Dorothy about something. "Now I have everything to lose." Dorothy came to visit that afternoon, her face still bearing the faint yellow remnants of bruises. "You look better," she said, settling into the chair beside his bed. "Thought I was going to lose you there for a while. Takes more than a few bullets to put me down." "Apparently so." She reached into her purse and pulled out her worn Bible. "I believe you have something that belongs to me." Marcus reached under his pillow and retrieved the leather-bound book. It was stained with blood now, the cover darker in spots, but still intact. "It saved my life," he said, handing it back. "Just like you said it would." Dorothy held the Bible against her chest. "My husband carried this through the jungle for 2 years. Now it's carried you through hell. I'd say it's earned its retirement. Dorothy, I don't know how to thank you. For everything. You don't need to thank me, child. You just need to keep living. Keep fighting. Keep being the man that little girl sees when she looks at you." "What if I'm not that man? What if she's wrong about me?" Dorothy laughed, a warm, rich sound that filled the sterile hospital room. "Marcus Brennan, I've lived 68 years on this earth. I've seen good men do terrible things and terrible men find redemption. You know what I've learned? What? We're not one thing or another. We're choices. Every day, every hour, every minute we choose who we're going to be. That little girl didn't fall in love with who you were. She saw who you could become, and every day you fight for her, you prove her right." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I'm scared, Dorothy. Snake's still out there. He's coming for them. For all of us. And I don't know if I can stop him." "Then don't stop him alone." Dorothy reached out and took his hand. "You've got people now, Marcus. People who love you, who believe in you, who will fight beside you. That's not weakness. That's strength. I've never been good at letting people in." "Then it's time you learned." The door opened, and Lily burst in, followed by Rachel and Daniel. "Marcus, Miss Dorothy, guess what?" Lily was bouncing with excitement. "The doctor says Marcus can leave tomorrow. He can come stay with us while he gets better." Marcus looked at Rachel, who nodded with a small smile. "If that's okay with you," she said, "we've got a spare room. It's not much, but—" "It's perfect," Marcus interrupted. "It's more than I deserve." "No." Daniel stepped forward, his voice firm for the first time since Marcus had met him. "It's exactly what you deserve. You saved my daughter's life. Our home is your home for as long as you need it." Lily climbed onto the bed beside Marcus, careful not to jostle his injuries. "We're going to be roommates," she announced. "I'm going to take care of you every day. Make sure you eat your vegetables and take your medicine, and don't do anything stupid." "Don't do anything stupid. That's what Mama always tells Daddy. So I figure it applies to you too." Marcus looked around the room at the faces surrounding him. Dorothy with her quiet strength, Rachel with her fierce determination, Daniel with his newfound courage, and Lily, always Lily, with her boundless faith and stubborn love. This wasn't just a family that had taken him in. This was the family he'd been searching for his whole life. "Okay," he said softly. "No stupid stuff. I promise." 1 week later, Marcus was sitting in the Parkers' tiny kitchen when Tommy Delgado called. "We need to meet," Tommy said without preamble. "Tonight. There's something you need to know." "What is it?" "Not over the phone. The old place. Midnight." The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone, his mind racing. Tommy wouldn't call unless it was important, unless it was urgent, unless something had gone very wrong. Rachel came into the kitchen and froze when she saw his face. "What happened?" "I need to go out tonight. There's something I have to do." "Marcus, you're still healing." "I know, but this can't wait." Rachel crossed her arms. "Does this have something to do with Snake?" "Maybe. I won't know until I get there." "Then I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not." "You don't get to make that decision for me. If this involves my family's safety, I have a right to know what's happening." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to protect her the way he'd been protecting everyone since this whole thing started. But Dorothy's words echoed in his head. "Don't stop him alone. Let people in." "Fine," he said. "But you stay in the car, no matter what happens." Deal. The old motorcycle shop looked different at midnight. Marcus approached from the back, his senses on high alert. Rachel waited in Dorothy's borrowed sedan 2 blocks away, her phone ready to call for backup if anything went wrong. Tommy was waiting inside, pacing nervously between stacks of tires. "You came alone?" Tommy asked. "I came. Talk." "Snake contacted me this morning. He knows I warned you, knows I've been feeding you information." Tommy's voice cracked. "He's going to kill me, Marcus. Me and my family, unless I give him something." "What does he want?" He wants me to set you up, lead you into a trap." Marcus's blood went cold. "And you agreed?" "I didn't have a choice. He's got my wife, Marcus. My kids. He took them 3 days ago. Said if I don't deliver you by tomorrow night, he'll—" Tommy broke off, tears streaming down his face. "I can't let them die. I can't." For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. His mind was processing, calculating, looking for angles. "Where's the meet supposed to happen?" "The old foundry on River Road. Tomorrow at midnight. He'll have his whole crew there. 20 men, maybe more. And if I don't show up, then my family dies. And Snake keeps hunting. He won't stop, Marcus. Not until everyone you care about is dead." Marcus closed his eyes. This was it. The moment he'd been dreading since he woke up in that hospital bed. Snake wasn't going to stop. Wasn't going to fade away. As long as he was breathing, he was a threat. Which meant there was only one way this could end. "Call him back," Marcus said. Tommy blinked. "What?" "Tell him I'll be there. Tomorrow. Midnight. Just like he wants." "Marcus, that's suicide. 20 men. I know. But I'm not going alone." Marcus pulled out his phone. "And I'm not going unprepared." He dialed Eli's number. "Eli, I need that favor, the big one." "Name it. Snake's making his move tomorrow night. 20 hostiles, maybe more. I need every man you can spare." Silence on the line. Then, how many you need. As many as it takes. "I can have 12 operators in Memphis by tomorrow morning. All former special forces, all willing to work off the books." "That'll do." "Marcus." Eli's voice was grave. "If we do this, there's no going back. This isn't a raid. This is war." "I know what it is. Just making sure you understand. Some of us might not walk away." Marcus thought about Lily, about her faith in him, about the promise he'd made to come back. Then we make sure Snake's the one who doesn't walk away. He told Rachel on the drive home. She She listened in silence, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, her face unreadable in the darkness. "You're going to fight him," she said finally. "Tomorrow night." "Yes. And you might die." "It's possible." "Then I'm coming." "Rachel, don't!" Her voice was steel. "Don't you dare try to bench me on this. My daughter's life is on the line. My family's life. If you think I'm going to sit at home and pray while you fight our battles, you don't know me at all. I can't protect you and fight Snake at the same time." "Then don't protect me. Let me protect myself." She glanced at him. "I grew up in this neighborhood, Marcus. I know how to handle myself, and I spent 8 years working the night shift in an ER. You think I don't know how to function under pressure?" Marcus wanted to argue. But he remembered how she'd grabbed that gun during the apartment raid, how she'd refused to stay behind while her daughter was in danger. This wasn't a damsel in distress. This was a mother willing to burn the world for her child. "Fine. But you listen to Eli. Do exactly what he says. No heroics." "Same goes for you." They drove the rest of the way in silence. The next morning, Marcus gathered everyone in Dorothy's apartment. Eli had arrived at dawn with his team. 12 hardened veterans, all of them bearing the quiet confidence of men who'd seen combat and survived. They spread around the small space, checking weapons, reviewing maps, preparing for war. Catherine was there too, officially, in an observation capacity, since the FBI couldn't sanction what was about to happen. But she'd brought tactical vests, communication equipment, and enough ammunition to start a small revolution. Daniel sat in the corner looking terrified but determined. He'd insisted on being part of the operation despite having no training and no experience. Marcus had given him a simple job: stay with Dorothy and Lily at the church, protect them if anything went wrong. It wasn't much, but it was something. "All right, listen up." Eli spread a map across Dorothy's table. "The foundry has 3 entry points. Main entrance service door on the south side and a loading dock at the back. Snake will have men at all of them." "Defensive positions?" one of Eli's men asked. "Interior is mostly open. Old machinery, scattered debris. Plenty of cover for both sides. Snake will probably position himself in the old foreman's office on the 2nd level. Good sightlines, easy to defend." "How do we get to him?" "We don't. Not directly." Marcus stepped forward. "I go in through the main entrance, alone, just like Snake expects." "That's suicide." "That's the distraction." Marcus pointed at the map. "While Snake's focused on me, teams breach through the south door and loading dock. Eliminate hostiles, secure the perimeter. By the time Snake realizes what's happening, he'll be surrounded." "And what about you?" "I'll be buying time." Eli shook his head. "You'll be a sitting duck." "I'll be bait. There's a difference." "Not much of one. It doesn't matter." Marcus met Eli's eyes. "This is my mess. My responsibility. I'm not asking any of you to die for me, but I am asking you to help me end this." Silence. The veterans exchanged glances, communicating in the wordless way of men who'd served together. Finally, Eli nodded. "All right, we do it your way, but you keep your head down when the shooting starts. I'm not explaining to that little girl why her friend came home in a box." "Deal." Lily found him alone in the garden behind the church that evening. Marcus was sitting on the stone bench where Dorothy usually read her Bible, staring at nothing, trying to prepare himself for what was coming. "You're going to fight the bad man tonight," Lily said, climbing up beside him. "How did you know? I heard the grown-ups talking." She pulled Mr. Whiskers from her pocket. "I want you to take him again." "Lily, I can't keep borrowing your rabbit." "You're not borrowing. You're protecting." She pressed the worn, stuffed animal into his hands. "Mr. Whiskers is the bravest. He's not scared of anything. And when you're with him, you won't be scared either." Marcus looked at the rabbit, then at the little girl who'd changed his life in ways he was still discovering. "What if I don't come back this time?" Lily's chin trembled, but her voice was steady. "Then Mr. Whiskers will find me and tell me you tried. And I'll know you kept your promise." "Lily, you have to come back, though, because we're a family now. Miss Dorothy says so. And you don't leave your family." Marcus pulled her into a hug, holding on tight. "You're the bravest person I know, Lily Grace Parker. You know that I know." Her voice was muffled against his chest. "You told me before." He laughed despite everything. This kid. This impossible, wonderful kid. "I love you, Lily." The words came out before he could stop them. 3 words he hadn't said to anyone since Sarah and Emma died. Lily pulled back and looked at him with those big brown eyes, serious and wise beyond her years. "I love you too, Marcus. You're my best friend in the whole world." She paused. "Even better than Mr. Whiskers. But don't tell him I said that." Marcus smiled through the tears burning in his eyes. "Your secret's safe with me." Midnight came fast. Marcus stood outside the foundry. Mr. Whiskers tucked against his heart, Dorothy's Bible in his back pocket. His earpiece crackled with Eli's voice. "Teams in position. We breach on your signal." "Copy that." He took a deep breath and walked toward the main entrance. The doors opened before he reached them. 2 of Snake's men stood on either side, guns raised. "He's been expecting you," one of them said. "Walk." Marcus walked. Inside the foundry was lit by portable floodlights that cast harsh shadows across the rusted machinery. Snake's men were everywhere, at least 20 of them spread throughout the open space with weapons trained on the entrance. And there, standing on the raised platform of the old foreman's office, was Victor "Snake" Kruger. "Marcus Brennan." Snake spread his arms wide. "Welcome to the end." "Victor." Marcus stopped in the center of the floor, surrounded on all sides. "You look good for a man whose empire just collapsed. Empires can be rebuilt, but betrayal..." Snake's eyes glittered. "Betrayal demands blood." "Then take mine. That's what this is about, isn't it, you and me?" "It's about so much more than that." Snake descended the stairs slowly. "It's about respect. It's about consequences. It's about making sure everyone knows what happens when you cross Victor Kruger. Everyone who matters already knows what you are. A trafficker, a monster, a man who sells children to the highest bidder." Snake's face twisted. "I am a businessman. I provide a service for people with specific needs. What happens after the transaction is not my concern. Tell that to the girls you shipped overseas. Tell that to the families you destroyed. I don't need to tell them anything. They're not my problem anymore." Snake stopped 10 feet away. "But you are my problem. And tonight I'm going to solve it." He raised his hand, ready to signal his men. Marcus smiled. "Now." The south door exploded inward. The loading dock erupted with gunfire. Snake's men started falling before they could even react. Snake's eyes went wide. "What?" Marcus lunged. They collided hard, crashing to the floor in a tangle of limbs. Snake was older, slower, but he fought with the desperation of a man who knew he was dying. His fist connected with Marcus's jaw. Marcus tasted blood. He rolled pinned Snake beneath him, started swinging. Every punch was for Lily, for Rachel, for Dorothy, for Tommy's family, for every victim Snake had ever destroyed. "This is for the girls you sold," Marcus snarled. "This is for the lives you ruined. This is for everyone who ever trusted you and paid the price." Snake's face was a ruin. Blood everywhere. Teeth scattered on the concrete. But he was laughing. "You think this changes anything?" he gurgled. kill me, and someone else takes over. The operation continues. You can't stop it. You can't stop any of it." "Maybe not." Marcus grabbed Snake by the throat. "But I can stop you." He squeezed. Snake's eyes bulged. His hands clawed at Marcus's grip. His legs kicked weakly. And then he was still. Marcus held on for another 10 seconds, making sure. Then he let go and sat back, breathing hard. Around him, the gunfire was dying down. Eli's voice crackled in his ear. "Foundry secure. All hostiles neutralized. We've got Tommy's family. They're safe." Marcus closed his eyes. It was over. Finally over. Rachel found him sitting against one of the old machines, staring at Snake's body. "Hey." She knelt beside him. "You okay?" "I killed him." "I know. I killed a man with my bare hands, and I don't feel anything." Rachel was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. "You feel something. You feel relief. You feel exhaustion. You feel the weight of everything you've been carrying finally starting to lift. How do you know? Because I know you, Marcus Brennan. And I know that you're not a killer. You're a protector. There's a difference." She helped him to his feet. The foundry was swarming with Eli's men and Catherine's FBI team, now securing evidence, processing the scene. "Come on," Rachel said. "Let's go home. There's a little girl who's been waiting up all night to see you." Marcus let her lead him toward the door. His body ached. His soul ached. Everything hurt. But somewhere in the pain, there was something else. Hope. "Rachel?" "Yeah. Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." She squeezed his hand. "That's what family does." Lily was waiting on the front steps when they pulled up to Dorothy's apartment. She launched herself at Marcus before he could even get out of the car, wrapping her arms around his legs with a force that nearly knocked him over. "You came back!" she shouted. "You came back! You came back! You came back!" Marcus knelt down and pulled her into a proper hug, ignoring the pain in his body, ignoring everything except the feel of this little girl in his arms. "I told you I would." "I know, but I was still scared." Her voice was muffled against his chest. "Miss Dorothy kept praying, and Daddy kept pacing, and I couldn't sleep even though I tried really hard." "Well, you can sleep now. It's over, Lily. It's really over." She pulled back and looked at him with those big brown eyes searching his face for something. "The bad man, he's gone. He can't hurt anyone anymore?" "You promise. I promise." Lily nodded solemnly, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I made this for you, while I was waiting." Marcus unfolded it carefully. It was a crayon drawing like all of Lily's drawings. But this one was different. It showed a stick figure with a beard and tattoos standing next to a smaller stick figure with pigtails. They were holding hands. Above them, in wobbly letters, Lily had written, "My family." Marcus's throat closed up. He couldn't speak, could barely breathe. "Do you like it?" Lily asked anxiously. "I know the letters are kinda messy, but I was tired and it's perfect." His voice cracked. "It's the most perfect thing anyone's ever given me." Dorothy appeared in the doorway, her face soft with relief. "Come inside, child. All of you. There's hot coffee and warm beds, and tomorrow is soon enough for the rest." Marcus let Lily lead him into the apartment, the drawing clutched in his hand like a lifeline. Tomorrow. There would be a tomorrow now. For all of them. The next few weeks passed in a blur of FBI interviews, medical checkups, and the slow, painful process of healing, Catherine's team had dismantled what remained of the Iron Wolves operation. 43 arrests in total, including the leak who'd betrayed Marcus, a mid-level FBI analyst who'd been on Snake's payroll for years. Tommy Delgado and his family were safe relocated to a new city under assumed names. Marcus called him once just to make sure. "I'm sorry," Tommy had said, his voice thick with guilt, "for almost setting you up, for putting you in that position. You did what you had to do. I'd have done the same for my family. Still, I owe you, brother. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. Just live a good life, Tommy. That's all I ask." The call ended, and Marcus realized he meant it. After all the blood and violence, all he wanted now was for people to live, to be happy, to have the chance he'd almost thrown away. Speaking of chances, Daniel Parker had started applying for jobs. Real jobs, accounting positions at legitimate firms. His confidence was slowly returning piece by piece, day by day. Rachel had cut back her hours at the hospital to spend more time with Lily. The dark circles under her eyes were fading. Her smile was coming back. And Lily was everywhere all the time, filling every room with her boundless energy and stubborn optimism. "Marcus, look at this bug I found. Marcus, can you help me with my homework? Marcus, tell me another story about when you were a soldier." He told her stories. Cleaned up versions, of course, with the blood and horror removed. But she listened to every word like it was scripture, her eyes wide with wonder. "You were really brave," she said one night after he'd told her about a mission in the mountains of Afghanistan. "I was scared the whole time." "Miss Dorothy says being brave means doing scary stuff anyway. So you were still brave." Marcus couldn't argue with that logic. 1 month after Snake's death, Catherine called with news. "The trafficking network is finished, completely. We traced the buyers Snake was working with, coordinated with Interpol, and took them all down. 17 arrests across 4 countries. And the girls? The ones who were transported before the raid? We found most of them. 31 recovered so far. It's going to take time to get them home to help them heal, but..." Catherine's voice caught. "We did it, Marcus. Because of you." Marcus sat down heavily on Dorothy's couch. 31 girls. 31 lives saved. It didn't erase the ones they couldn't save. It didn't undo the years of horror those girls had endured. But it was something. It was a start. "What happens now?" he asked. Now you get to live your life. The Bureau is dropping all potential charges related to your time with the Wolves. Full immunity in exchange for your testimony and cooperation. That's it. That's it. You're a free man, Marcus Brennan, for the first time in a long time." A free man. He wasn't sure he remembered what that felt like. "What about the Parkers? Are they safe?" "As far as we can tell, yes. With Snake gone and the operation dismantled, there's no one left who'd want to harm them. The debt Daniel owed has been officially erased, tagged as proceeds of criminal enterprise. So they're really free. They're really free." Marcus let out a breath he felt like he'd been holding for months. It was over. Really, truly over. Now the question was, what came next? Dorothy asked him that same question 3 days later. They were sitting in her garden, the one behind Mount Zion Baptist Church, watching Lily chase butterflies in the afternoon sun. "You've been hiding here for weeks now," Dorothy said. "Healing, yes, but also avoiding. What are you afraid of?" "I'm not afraid." "Marcus Brennan, I've known you long enough now to know when you're lying. What's really going on?" Marcus watched Lily capture a butterfly, hold it gently in her cupped hands. then release it back into the air. I don't know who I am anymore, he admitted. For 8 years I was running, first from my grief, then toward revenge. And now, he shook his head. Now I don't know what to do with myself. What do you want to do? That's just it. I don't know. I've never had the luxury of choosing what I wanted. It was always about survival, about the mission, about the next fight. And now there's no more fighting. Exactly. Dorothy was quiet for a moment, watching Lily spin in circles until she got dizzy and fell down laughing. You know what I think, she said finally. I think you've been given something rare, a second chance, a chance to build something instead of tear something down. Build what? That's for you to decide, but I have a suggestion if you're willing to hear it. I'm listening. That little girl over there saved your life. She looked at a man bleeding out in a dumpster and saw someone worth saving. Maybe it's time you started seeing yourself the same way. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, a crack in the wall he'd built so long ago widening into something that might eventually let light through. I don't know how, he said quietly. I don't know how to be good, how to be normal, how to be the kind of person she thinks I am. Nobody's asking you to be perfect, child. Just willing. Willing to try, willing to fail, willing to get back up and try again. Dorothy reached over and patted his hand. That little girl didn't give up on you. Don't you dare give up on yourself. That night, Marcus made a phone call. Eli answered on the second ring. Marcus, everything okay? Everything's fine. I just wanted to say thank you for everything you did. No thanks necessary. That's what brothers do. I know. But still. Marcus paused. I also wanted to ask you something. Name it. Your veterans organization. The one you run back in Nashville. Is there room for one more... Silence on the line. Then, are you serious? I think so. I've been thinking about what Dorothy said about building something instead of tearing things down, and I figure... He took a breath. I figure if I'm going to start over, I might as well do it helping people like me. People who came back from war and lost their way. Marcus, I'd be honored to have you. But are you sure you're ready? This kind of work, it's not easy. You'll be dealing with broken people, people in pain. It can bring up a lot of stuff. I know, but maybe that's exactly what I need. Maybe helping them heal will help me heal too. Then come to Nashville, whenever you're ready. There's a place for you here. Thanks, Eli, for everything. See you soon, brother. Marcus hung up and stared at the phone in his hand. Nashville. A new city. A new purpose, a new life. But there was one thing he needed to do first. He found Rachel in the kitchen the next morning making breakfast while Daniel got ready for a job interview, and Lily watched cartoons in the living room. Can we talk? Marcus asked. Rachel set down her spatula and turned to face him. That sounds serious. It is, kind of. They stepped out onto the small balcony, closing the door behind them for privacy. I've been offered a job, Marcus said, in Nashville, working with a veterans organization helping guys like me get back on their feet. Rachel's face went through several emotions at once. Surprise, concern, something that might have been disappointment. You're leaving. I'm thinking about it, but I wanted to talk to you first, to all of you. Why? Because you're my family now, and I don't make decisions like this without my family. Rachel's eyes softened. Marcus, I know what you're going to say, that I don't owe you anything, that I've done enough, that I should go live my own life. He shook his head. But that's not how family works. Family means we're connected now. Forever. Whatever I do, wherever I go, you're part of it. What about Lily? That's the hard part. Marcus looked through the window at the little girl absorbed in her cartoons. Leaving her is going to break my heart. Then don't leave. I have to. Not because I want to, but because staying here, staying stuck, it's not healthy. For me or for her. She needs to see that people can move forward, can grow, can build something new after everything falls apart. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his arm. You've really thought about this. For weeks. It's all I've been thinking about. And you really think Nashville is the answer? I think it's a start. And I think... He hesitated. I think I want you to come with me. All of you. Rachel blinked. What? Nashville's got good hospitals, good schools, a fresh start for all of us away from Memphis, away from the memories. He met her eyes. I know it's a lot to ask, but I can't imagine building a new life without Lily in it, without all of you in it. Rachel stared at him like he'd grown a second head. You want us to move to Nashville. With you. I want us to be a family. A real family. Whatever that looks like, wherever it takes us. Marcus, Daniel, and I, we're not... you and I aren't. I know. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if you'd be willing to start over. Together. As whatever we are. He gestured vaguely. Friends, family, something in between. I don't need a label. I just need you in my life. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. You stupid, wonderful man. Is that a yes? It's a, let me talk to Daniel. It's a, let me think about it. It's a... She laughed through her tears. It's an, I can't believe you're actually asking this. Believe it, because I mean every word. She hugged him then, tight and fierce. Give me a week. 1 week to sort things out, to talk to Daniel, to make sure this is the right move. Take all the time you need. She pulled back and wiped her eyes. You're going to have to tell Lily you know about leaving. I know. She's not going to take it well. I know that too. Rachel smiled softly. Good luck. Telling Lily was the hardest thing Marcus had ever done. He found her in the garden that afternoon, building a fairy house out of sticks and leaves. She looked up when he approached, her face bright with excitement. Marcus, come look, I'm making a home for the garden fairies. He sat down beside her, watching her work for a moment before speaking. Lily, I need to tell you something. What? I'm going away for a while. To Nashville. Her hands stopped moving. She looked at him with those big brown eyes, and Marcus saw the fear creeping in at the edges. Going away. Just for a little bit. To start a new job. Helping other soldiers who are hurt like I was. But you'll come back. I hope so. And I hope... He took a breath. I hope you'll come with me. Lily's face went through a dozen expressions at once. Come with you like move, you and your mom and dad. All of us together starting fresh in a new place. But what about Miss Dorothy? What about my school? What about my friends? Miss Dorothy would come visit. And you'd make new friends go to a new school. Lily's lower lip trembled. I don't want new friends. I want my old friends. I want everything to stay the same. Marcus pulled her into his lap, holding her close. I know, sweetheart. Change is scary. Believe me, I know. He stroked her hair gently. But sometimes change is good. Sometimes it's the only way to become who we're supposed to be. What if I don't want to become someone else? What if I like who I am now? You won't become someone else. You'll still be Lily Grace Parker, the bravest girl I know. You'll just be Lily Grace Parker in a new place, having new adventures. She was quiet for a long time, her small body pressed against his chest. Will you still be my best friend? Always, no matter where we are. And you won't forget me. Lily, I could never forget you. You saved my life. You're the reason I'm here. How could I ever forget that? She pulled back and looked at him with fierce determination. Okay, I'll come with you. But you have to promise me something. Anything. You have to promise that we'll always be family, no matter what happens. Even if you get a girlfriend or get married or have babies or whatever. Promise me I'll always be your family. Marcus felt his heart crack open in the best possible way. I promise, Lily. You will always be my family. Nothing will ever change that. Pinky swear. He held out his finger. She wrapped hers around it. Pinky swear. 2 months later, the moving truck pulled up to a small house on a quiet street in Nashville. It wasn't much. 3 bedrooms, a tiny yard, a garage that Marcus was already planning to convert into a workshop. But it was theirs. A place to call home. Daniel stepped out of the car first, looking around with something like wonder on his face. He'd gotten the accounting job he'd interviewed for a position at a small firm that didn't care about his past, only his skills. Rachel followed, stretching after the long drive. She'd already secured a nursing position at Vanderbilt Medical Center, better hours, better pay, a chance to build a real career. And Lily exploded out of the back seat like a small tornado running across the yard, spinning in circles. It's so big. Look at all the grass. Marcus, there's a tree. Can we put a swing on it? Please, please, please. Marcus laughed, the sound surprising him. He couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed like that. Easy, natural, happy. We can put whatever you want on it, kid. Dorothy climbed out of the passenger seat, moving slower than the others, but with a smile that lit up her weathered face. She'd agreed to come for a few weeks to help them settle in. Marcus suspected she might end up staying longer. Well, she said, looking at the house. It's not much. It's perfect, Marcus said. Yes. Dorothy reached out and squeezed his hand. I believe it is. The weeks that followed were full of chaos and laughter and the slow, beautiful work of building a life. Marcus threw himself into his work at Eli's organization, spending his days with veterans who reminded him of himself. Broken men, lost men, men who'd seen too much and felt too little for too long. He understood them, knew their pain, and slowly, carefully, he helped them find their way back. You're good at this, Eli told him one evening. Natural. I just tell them what I wish someone had told me, that it's okay to be broken, that healing isn't weakness, that there's still something worth living for. And you believe that now, after everything. Marcus thought about Lily's drawing still folded in his wallet. My family. Yeah, he said. I believe it. 6 months after the move, Marcus made it official. He talked to Rachel and Daniel first, separately, and together, making sure they understood what he was asking and why. They gave their blessing without hesitation. Then he went to Lily. She was doing homework at the kitchen table, tongue poking out in concentration as she worked through her math problems. Hey kid, got a minute? Marcus. She pushed her homework aside. I'm so bored. Math is stupid. Math is important, but this is more important. He sat down across from her. I want to ask you something. How would you feel if I officially became part of your family? Like legally, Lily's brow furrowed. Aren't you already part of our family? I am. But I want to make it official. I want to adopt you, Lily. Become your godfather, your legal guardian. Someone who will always be there for you no matter what. Her eyes went wide. Like Like a real dad. Not exactly like your dad. Daniel is your dad, and he always will be. But like a second dad, maybe. Someone who loves you and protects you and helps take care of you. So I'd have two dads? If you want. If that's okay with you? Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing this information, with all the seriousness of a Supreme Court justice. Would I have to call you Dad? You can call me whatever you want, Marcus. Dad. Hey you. Whatever feels right. Can I still call you Marcus because I like saying your name? It sounds important. Marcus laughed. You can call me Marcus. Okay then. She nodded firmly. I accept. You can adopt me. You accept? Yes, but I have conditions. Conditions. You have to come to all my school things, plays and concerts and stuff, even if they're boring. Done. And you have to teach me how to ride a motorcycle when I'm older. We'll talk about that. And you have to promise to never, ever leave. Even when I'm a teenager and I'm mean and I say I hate you, you have to stay anyway. Marcus felt his eyes burn. I promise, Lily. I'm not going anywhere. Then it's a deal. She stuck out her hand. Shake on it. He shook her hand solemnly. Now can we celebrate with ice cream? Lily asked. Absolutely. The adoption ceremony took place at a courthouse in downtown Nashville 3 months later. Dorothy cried through the whole thing. Rachel held Daniel's hand so tight his fingers turned white. Eli and some of the veterans from the organization filled the back rows, standing witness to something they all understood. Second chances. New beginnings. The kind of redemption that only comes through love. The judge. A silver-haired woman with kind eyes read through the paperwork and smiled. Mr. Brennan, do you understand that by signing these documents, you are accepting full legal responsibility for the care and welfare of Lily Grace Parker? I do. And do you promise to love, protect, and provide for her to the best of your ability? I promise. Lily, do you understand what's happening today? Lily stood up straight, looking the judge directly in the eye. Yes, ma'am. Marcus is becoming my official family, even though he already was. The judge's smile widened. That's exactly right. She turned back to Marcus. Then by the power vested in me, I hereby declare Marcus Dwayne Brennan the legal godfather and guardian of Lily Grace Parker. She banged her gavel. Lily threw herself at Marcus with a shriek of joy. We did it! We're official! Marcus caught her, lifted her up, held her tight. We're official, kid. Forever. That evening they gathered at the house for a celebration. Dorothy made her famous pound cake. Rachel cooked enough food to feed an army. Daniel grilled steaks in the backyard, while Eli's veterans taught Lily how to properly throw a football. Marcus stood on the porch, watching it all, trying to memorize every detail. Rachel appeared beside him with 2 bottles of beer. You okay? Better than okay. He took the beer she offered. I'm happy. Actually happy. I'd forgotten what that felt like. You deserve it, you know, after everything you've been through. I'm not sure about deserve, but I'm grateful. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Lily tackle one of the veterans twice her size. She's something else, isn't she? Rachel said. She's everything. Marcus took a long drink. I still can't believe she found me. Still can't believe any of this is real. It's real. It's all real. Rachel bumped his shoulder with hers. You built this, Marcus. You fought for it, bled for it, almost died for it. Don't you dare doubt that you earned it. I just keep waiting for it to fall apart, for something to go wrong. Things will go wrong. That's life. but now you've got people to face it with." She gestured at the chaos of the backyard. "This is what family is, Marcus. Messy, complicated, sometimes terrifying, but always, always worth it." Lily spotted them on the porch and came running, grass-stained and grinning. "Marcus, come play. Mr. Eli says you were a quarterback in high school. I was absolutely not a quarterback. He says you were the best. He's lying. Come play anyway. Please, please, please." Marcus looked at Rachel, who was laughing. "Go," she said. "Your daughter needs you." His daughter. The words hit him like a physical blow, but in the best possible way. "Okay, kid," he handed Rachel his beer. "Let's see what you've got." He chased Lily across the yard, caught her, swung her through the air, while she shrieked with laughter. Dorothy watched from her chair by the grill Bible in her lap, tears streaming down her face. Daniel put his arm around Rachel, pulling her close. Eli raised his beer in a silent toast to the man he'd served with, the man he'd watched fall apart, and put himself back together. And somewhere in the fading Tennessee sunset, a monarch butterfly floated past the yard, orange wings catching the last light of day. Lily saw it and gasped. "Marcus, look, it's the butterfly." "What butterfly?" "The one that led me to you in the alley, remember? It flew over the dumpster, and that's how I found you." Marcus looked at the butterfly, then at the little girl in his arms, then at the family surrounding him. A year ago, he'd been dying in a pile of trash, ready to give up on everything. Now he had a home, a purpose, people who loved him, all because a 6-year-old girl with tangled hair and a purple dress had refused to let him go. "You know what, Lily? What? I think that butterfly knew exactly what it was doing. Like magic, like fate." Lily grinned and threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Marcus." "I love you too, kid, more than you'll ever know." The butterfly circled them once, twice, then floated away into the evening sky. And Marcus Brennan, the man who'd been lost, the man who'd been found, the man who'd been given a second chance he never thought he deserved, held his daughter close and finally understood what it meant to be home. Not a place, not a building, not an address. Home was the people who loved you, the people who believed in you, the people who refused to give up no matter how broken you seemed. Lily had taught him that. A little girl who found a dying biker in a dumpster and saw something worth saving. She'd been right all along. Everyone is worth saving. Everyone deserves a second chance. And sometimes the smallest hands can lift the heaviest hearts. If you enjoyed this story, please share your favorite part in the comments and let us know where in the world you're watching from. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next story. Remember, no matter how lost you feel, no matter how broken, there's always someone who sees the best in you. All you have to do is let them find you.